Family, my brave Mage brothers, we have a absolute big dick banger for you today. This is a Mage deep dive. I can expect it to go just as long as the Rogue one did, or I'll be disappointed because now we don't just have one guest. We have 3 of them. Before we introduce them, let's talk about what we're going to talk about, which is going to be in order-ish. Guest introductions. Sarthe will introduce the homies and they can talk to themselves. Mage class overviews. We'll spec overview for Frostfire, Bold, and Arcane. We'll talk about when you're going to swap, the whole Arcane Fire debate, which is tier 7, 8, whatever you want to talk about. Races, professions, gearing, itemizations, anything you need from TBC to bring in your role in the raid. Who focus magic goes to, which will be spicy, I think. AoE potential, gold farming, leveling for those open world questers and the dungeon cleavers. And then answer any other questions. Okay. Yep. That's what we're doing today. And before anybody asks how my guests are doing, I got to ask my brother how he's doing, man. Big Sarthe.
Yeah.
Big light-skinned, hot chip eating. How you doing,
my
man?
boy? I'm doing well. Ate the hot chip challenge earlier, and I definitely still feel it. Holy shit, man, that was hot. That was like intense. I think like the gummy bear was maybe the gummy bear might be worse like when it's in your mouth, because the gummy bear, like, it feels like it like just like ekes all over your tongue, and like you can't get it off your tongue,
like your lips and shit.
Yeah, but the hot chip, for some reason, I decided to eat this chip. Like, it's a huge chip. I shoved it all in my mouth, but I closed my mouth while I was shoving it in. So then I just shoved it against my lips. It was just the most ridiculous way of eating something I've ever done. So needless to say, it was painful, but we're here. And I'm excited for the podcast. We have some fucking great guests, and I'm really, really hyped.
Oh, man. Big Z, how you doing, Dougie? Big Z, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, man. Like I said to you earlier, today, background's a little different. I'm at my girlfriend's place and got up at 5 a.m. and went to the gym for the first time in 3 years. So I'm actually feeling really good. And I know there's one of those things where once I start going to the gym, then it's just one of those things where I'll just keep going, right? It's just that first step of getting in there consistently for like the first week. That's the hard part. So I'm excited about starting that journey, but I'm also excited about talking some Mage because I know very, very little about mages, but that doesn't stop me from having opinions about them like everybody else. So we can all have opinions about mages while knowing absolutely nothing. I'm here to represent those people. So we're going to have fun today.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for today. I'm already excited. I already moved the focus magic question up till after we do the review, so we don't have to wait till the end. I'm excited for all of it. I play a mage, barely, but here we are. I don't play any mage enough to talk to you guys about it, but these 3 gentlemen do, huh? Criteria, how you doing, Sexy? You doing all right, bud? Looking thick today.
Good.
You want to tell everybody you're going to introduce yourself and talk about who you are, what guild are you in, where are you pumping, what do you play?
Sure. I'm play Fusion Guild. Competitive raiding is my focus, PvE. I play Mage, and I drink whiskey, and that's pretty much me.
That's
what I stream. Yep. Cheers. Also, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me here. And also shout out to the Mage Discord for all the work that they do.
Thanks for reminding me. Let me get some
all
links.
The research. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy that they're not getting paid by Blizzard, and there's too many names to name there that are for all the work that they've been putting in. But like, pretty much the majority of my information comes from Mage Discord. So shout outs to them. Cheers.
Mage Discord is good, man. I feel like when like the mages were testing all of the different like pulls and like kiting strats or tank strats, remember in Black Temple with like Illiterate Council, that literally so much information was pooled together to make it like to definitive answers, right? Like it was really, I mean, I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
And it was all in the pursuit of science, not at all just mages having to pump and not kite. Not self-serving at all.
With that, dude, Tiggy, welcome to the stream. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Tiggy, also known as Tigward. I play Horde Troll Mage on the server Grobulus. Shout out to my boys in Yep. My focus is also competitive rating, though slightly less competitive than that of Fusion, at least until next expansion. Watch out. Thanks for inviting me. Happy to be here. Regular contributor to Mage Discord stuff. I'm just really stoked to be here talking about mages.
He's the Mage Discord villain also.
That's true.
That's
true. I like hot takes.
I was looking through the Discord and he was like, they actually got me on here. And then I was like, oh, this guy must be the terrorizer. I like it. Felipe, my friend. You beautiful soul. How are you doing, Doc? You want to introduce yourself a little bit?
I'm doing all right. I write for Wowhead. I do a lot of the theory crafting simming for phase base and pre-raid base, all that shit on the Mage Discord, and I'm on the Mage Discord like every day. That's basically it.
There you go.
Perfect.
The perfect people for this.
Yeah, I'm very excited for. Did we miss anybody? Don't worry about me. I'm doing fine, guys.
Yeah, I'm like Crix. Yo, update, Crix. How's life? What's up?
I'm just, hanging out, waiting for raid testing. Dude, to be honest, I'm so far out of TBC. It's crazy. I raid log to the point. Well, now I'm doing my daily. Now I'm actually doing my quest log and like dailies and stuff. But I log in once a week to do the raid, and like that's it. You know what I mean? I'm ready for Lich King, bro. That's it. That's all.
It's full waiting room,
bro. I'm just ready.
Yeah,
for it. Yeah. I'm ready.
It's the waiting room for sure.
I'm just raiding. I'm raid testing down. We're waiting for it to come up. I guess what I'm doing now, which is unironically the perfect time. I didn't schedule it to be like that, but I started my mage on the beta. I did it last at all the casters because we have beautiful people streaming remages all the time. So I started it yesterday, so I'm just gonna try to get him a few days of heroics cleared, so when the raid comes out, he's not just butt naked in some templates to gear. Other than that, I'm just not really doing much. Gonna play some Final Fantasy for the first time tonight. Spice it up a little bit. I'm trying to branch out into variety for Lich King. It's where, like TBC, I looked at my analytics, 96% of the games that I played in 2023, or whatever the 21, 22, was TBC. Literally just TBC.
You had like those like weeks where you were like hard varietying, And that only added up to 4%.
It only added to 4% dog. Because it was at nighttime. Now I want to, and instead of just like playing like, an hour at nighttime when Lich King comes out, I want to have a couple days a week where I don't play. I play whatever it is.
Oh wow!
And I was playing like Valorant and like other shit, but I kind of want to keep it. I haven't played a lot of other MMOs, so like, why not? I'm an MMO streamer. Why not go play other MMOs? See if there's any loud ass motherfuckers like me and all these other communities. So starting that tonight, I'm pretty excited. Other than that, I'm not really doing much, man. Raising kids.
Oh yeah.
Giving more attention to my wife before the expansion. I'm over here giving her every day a few hours of watching The Wire. 2 days off a week and everything, because in about a month.
You get it, dude.
At a month, I don't have a wife or kids. You know what I mean?
So you have to preface it. You have to front load it super hard. That's why I don't play on weekends, right? You have to front load it super hard so that when Wrath comes out, it's like, yo, you're not gonna see me for 2 weeks or like a month or anything like that.
Dude, it's crazy.
Get your time in now.
Well, now that we're caught up, I want to log in, and I guess unless you guys have something, I want to show some VODs when we're not talking about this exact right now. Oh, we didn't talk about actually beforehand is how is the mage on beta? That was the first time we started with the rogues. I forgot about that. I didn't put it in the agenda. How are mages feeling in the beta? I guess we can talk. You can talk about. Just go. I don't know what circle you guys want to go in. Criteria. You can start and send it to whoever. Kind of like, how does it feel in the heroics? We'll talk about leveling at the end of it, so you don't have to touch on that. But how does heroics feel? I guess start with that, and then we'll go into the raids, like how it felt in the raid after that.
I mean, heroics feel like a joke, so I don't even know if there's necessarily anything to say there. Like even just in template gear. Granted, the template gear is all like heroics, but a lot of us will be going in with Sunwell gear. I mean, I think even without template gear, heroics are just kind of a joke. It's hard to gauge things from that. From the raid, I would say mages feel pretty good. I would say the one caveat I have now is the fact that we've learned about the mana changes, the mana bug. I mean, essentially everyone's getting the out of combat mana regen the entire time.
Wait, what? I didn't hear. What happened?
Oh, you haven't heard about this? Okay.
Well,
so this is maybe something. Must be nice. Yeah. So let's see. Let's maybe read verbatim quote. All mana users are receiving, out of combat, 5 mana in MP2 ticks within the 5-second window. Essentially, it's like something like people are getting anywhere between 250% to 300% extra mana regen in combat.
Wow.
So how this will affect how this will affect mages and really just all mana users has yet to be seen once Blizzard, I assume, will finally fix this. The Mage Discord actually identified this like a couple weeks ago. So they were kind of ahead of the curve. But yeah, like Yerbil says, basically everyone's experiencing way more MP5 than they're supposed to be. And so, I mean, how that's going to affect Arcane and, in comparison to Fire, which doesn't use that as mana heavy, mana intensive, remains to be seen. Also, same with like FFB versus Fire, right? So I know we're kind of jumping the gun, but like,
you're fine.
You know, Fire and Arcane have access to clear casting. So if you Blizzard is also like chance on hit per target for your clear casting proc. So you're pretty much always, as long as the Blizzard is going to tick for a while and it's a decent pack, you're going to get a clear casting proc. So that Blizzard is going to pay for itself. FFB doesn't have that advantage. And also, I don't know. So there's a number of things to kind of still be seen. I want another round of beta testing with all this shit fixed so we can finally figure this out. There's just a bunch of other bugs, right, to compare things. But I would say right now, like, mages are like, they feel good, but we also have that caveat, right, that we're right now getting a lot of extra mana than we would otherwise.
Even with
so
this,
I would say we're like top of A tier, bottom of S tier as Arcane. You know, but I want to see what we're like with all these mana changes.
So essentially, the 5-second rule just doesn't exist.
I guess so. I don't understand it in depth. But yeah.
Okay.
What were you having any mana issues in the raids whatsoever then as Arcane so far, or was it like you just never ran out of mana so far?
No. I mean, you'd definitely have to be juggling your mana. Like you'd have to be timing out your evos, and yeah. I mean, even with evo on a 2-minute CD, you can burn through mana pretty quickly as Arcane. Like, and if you're not able to be Blizzarding, like if you're having to W key and Arcane Explosioning, that's actually going to go through your mana a lot faster than Blizzard because of what I mentioned with Blizzard and how it has with clear casting chance on tick. Right, to be getting a clear casting proc, so then your next Blizzard is going to be free, and so you can kind of ride that. So that Blizzard's going to pay for itself. If you're not able to do that, and you're just having to constantly Arcane Explosion, you can go through your mana pretty quick, and because we can't drink walk anymore, right? So there's no more drink walking, which definitely affects us a lot too. So, and if you ever have to like sit back and drink, you just missed out on an AOE pack, and your like overall damage is kind of screwed. You can't miss out on like any AOE packs if you're going for. Competing with other people. The damn melee users that could just hold W, right?
Well, all you got to do is you got to take blink, so you just sit and drink for a bit, and then you blink to catch up, and you're positive on mob.
It's not that. The 5 yards on blink is not that simple, unfortunately. I wish it was, but
taking that one would be funny as hell, man.
That's our keep only rune right there. That's like our keep specific.
Yeah, sorry, I just totally took us on a tangent, but
don't worry. That's the whole point.
I just feel like it's a caveat, right?
Because it's a conversation. These things are loose structure.
It's that caveat needs to be there because, like, yeah, things right now we feel definitely. I would say like we're in. You guys had the S plus, right? You guys had like S plus S. So I'm talking like in that context, we're bottom of S tier. So like maybe if you didn't have S plus, maybe like top of or somewhere in A tier, whatever. But we'll see with mana changes, right? And then also phase 1 bis. Well, anyways, I'm gonna jump the gun. I'm gonna get off my stage.
I like how excited you are.
Yeah, I love it.
No, we love it.
I love it.
We just have an agenda, and then we just talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about in the meantime.
Yeah,
so you're fine. You're more than okay. Tiggy, what about you? What's your take on the raise and how you're feeling and stuff? What's your little
Well, I share a lot of excitement with how mages are doing with the criteria here. I played both Fire and Frostfire bolts in the raids. I did a little bit of Arcane and Dungeoning and a little bit of Frostfire bolt there as well. Again, dungeons are just kind of a joke, a bit of a non-starter outside of leveling or just like doing them at 77, 78, depending on when they're available. So mostly raid-specific talk. I think 2 things of note that happened on the beta or recently are the Molten Armor bug. It's just kind of annoying. There's a bit where it doesn't apply the crit value. Sometimes gives you even negative crit, I'm told, depending on the order of operations of the buffs that you apply that give you spell crit. Particularly Focus Magic is one to keep mind of there. Another one that came out with the beta development notes recently is that the AoE cap has been 20 this whole time on beta for all of raid testing and only just got changed to 10. What that means for Mage probably is actually a net performance boost, I would imagine, because everyone kind of has AoE, and to be honest, mages aren't necessarily the king of AoE anymore. So whatever degree it focuses a bit more damage on single target benefits Arcane a lot, and potentially living bombs actually expiring before trash dies. So those
and
things
on top of that, for Fire, the Flame Strike dot is going to be uncapped, so that should help us too.
Or just stuff like not moving out of Blizzard or Flame Strike and focusing more on not W keying the whole time necessarily. Just generally benefits mages overall, I would say, relative to most other DPS classes, maybe with the exception of Rogue and abusing poison on huge bowls, being uncapped in AoE. But that aside, mages did feel pretty good. I got a decent amount of 10-man and 25-man experience in. Arcane felt insane for cheesing Sarthe 3 Drake. early on. It'll be a joke later, but while you're on progression, just having insane single target burst felt very specific to like rogues, unholy DKs, and arcanes there. So I felt very useful on doing that. I think I did it with Zyrene here. Took a little bit. We just had to downgrade to 1 healer and do a kiting strategy on the Drakes, but after that it was kind of smooth sailing. But in terms of complete raid, kind of hard to gauge because you're like all the bugs. I think until recently, like logging didn't have encounter start triggering, so it was hard to separate boss and trash, or exclude like weird mobs like the zombies on Gluth that probably shouldn't count for damage necessarily, unless they're decimated, stuff like that. But Arcane felt really good on bosses where you didn't go and that's always been the caveat with Arcane. I mean, you can blast through your whole mana with Arcane Blast super fast. There's a conserve rotation, but at the end of the day, it's also mana negative, and there's still theory crafting to be done. And the gear in general was actually rather poor for Arcane, just in terms of mana pool and stat itemization. Fire felt honestly more fun to play, particularly in the complete raid context with Fire Starter, because you get the instant cast free Flame Strike every time you Blast Wave or Dragon's Breath. Honestly, it felt a lot more engaging to play and was super satisfying when Livid Bomb in fact did go off. And of course on boss, with all that the depth that Arcane has to offer, nothing quite beats that feeling of Hot Streak. It's just a very satisfying gameplay loop.
Did you feel like I heard that mages have one of the worst preset like gear sets?
Yeah, it's trash.
Characters. Yeah,
it's not that it's bad. Like offensively, it's the total mana pool that it has, like 4,000 or 5,000 total mana worse than the actual pre-raid, and face base is like another 4K. So that affects Arcane Mage insanely.
Yeah,
not just the offensive stats themselves.
Okay, so I was wondering why. Yeah, that's huge though. That's massive actually.
And one last bit before I pass the mic to Felipe here. Fire Mages also didn't have Flame Cap on the beta, among a bunch of other stuff. But it definitely was a lot worse for, I think, Arcane.
Some of us had Flame Cap.
Flame Cap's like the consumable? You don't have Flame
yes,
Cap.
Yeah. That is BIS, by the way. If you're playing Mage and Wrath, you should buy out the auction house right now. You have the gold.
I'm about to say the amount of...
Not on Grobulus, so that's mine.
The amount of Flame Caps that I have copied over is ridiculous. For all the ones that we played, you got to do it. Helps a lot.
And the cooldown separate from Gem and I think Dark Rune as well, and in Wrath as well. So it's completely separate cooldown. No reason to not use them.
Well, did you use it? Are you using Dark Rune, dog?
I believe that could be better for Arcane than Flame Cap, probably.
Yeah. There you go.
Just 15-minute cooldown now, though.
Yeah, longest cooldown of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what they said for the most part. Like in dungeons, that shit just melts. There's no point. There's no way to compare performance. Just go in, get your badge, just get out. For raid, it's hard to compare still because the pacing is very different. The gear is very different from what we'll have. Even week 1 or week 2, the gear is going to be massively better than what we currently have on beta. And if you're just double keying, like there's some examples from some guilds like Foji. He did some tests just going as fast as he could, and just having 2 or 3 tanks pulling from each corner, trying to pull as much as possible, and just arcane explosioning constantly. And that had insane impact on his overall instead of pressing Blizzard. So there's several options for AoE that we still haven't quite tested properly in a real raid scenario that might be better. But just in single target as well, like I told Sarthe, the total mana pool affects the DPS so much. Even besides the crit, the spell power, the haste, all that shit, just the mana pool. It's so important for Arcane. So just getting proper gear, that's going to allow for a much better performance later on.
Are you guys chugging mana potions in these runs?
Sometimes I did. Not pre-pot, but yeah, on trash I was doing that. Also, not just the mage's gear, but as the raid gets more geared and kill times go down, Arcane stonks through the roof.
Yeah. And the mana pots as well, like we don't have engineering, which gets us extra mana from each mana pot either on beta. It's like 25%.
Yeah.
It's like 25% extra mana from each mana pot that you get from engineering if you use injectors.
There we go. Yeah, I know you guys want Innervates. Don't get me started on Innervates. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. I was about to say, good. Let's definitely touch on that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now we can go over some class changes. I guess some overall ones would be nice first too. If you guys have some overall class changes that you know about, because we're gonna go after the class we go, we'll go spec by spec. We'll probably go Frost first, and then Fire, and then Arcane, or whatever order you guys want to go in. But some overall changes that's kind of new, like Frostfire Bolt. We can talk about that. Whatever. Just
before we move on though, I want to give my impression of mages on the beta.
Okay, good. Yeah, let's do it. Do it, doggy. My bad. Go ahead.
I didn't think they were very good compared to other classes. Like I felt like mages, like in terms of just the early phases, like if I'm comparing them to how Arcane is doing in T5 and stuff like that, like when they're kings throughout most of TBC, save for the final tier here, they just feel very underwhelming right now. I don't know if it's because I'm not playing with really good, like incredible mage players or anything like that, or maybe we're not tailoring the polls to them, but it felt really underwhelming. The overall would be the only place that they really seem to like pop off, but I was really not as impressed as I thought I would be. And maybe it's because everybody else has so much AoE now, but that was my impression. I don't know if you guys saw like any mages doing an incredible amount of damage. I see the log right there with people who I know do some damage, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I don't have the context for this. You're Boomy and you're number 2, Crix. Is that really what we're looking at here? Is that why you pulled this up? No.
That's for sure why he pulled it up.
It's one of those things that works both ways. Like I get the humbly flex, but also Mage's pump. And also,
can we look at the buffs on that log? Can we look at the buffs? Where the Innervates and the power infusions are going? I'm just saying.
No, you're not getting my Innervate ever in my life. I still lie. If the guild makes me do it, I would do it. But But no, I can pull up another one.
You were right. What you said?
If you look at, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say, you mentioned that maybe the polls just weren't properly made to improve the mage's performance, and that's a very big factor, because mages benefit a lot from just knowing how the raid's going to go and planning around it. So each pool, what CDs you're going to have, how many mobs each pool has, and you can plan around that and get better performance each raid.
Do you think...
just going it... Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, which do you think is better for a mage, a slow raid or a fast raid?
For overall, just the thing is now that raids can't idle on logs.
Yeah,
because like a fast raid's like, always going to be better.
Because I'm like dragging mobs like Skitterer packs into Venom Stalkers into like other pulls where it's just like I will be typically dragging like 1 or 2 mobs with me into the next pull. I don't know if that's just like a bad place for a mage to be, where they just decide not to do any damage and like blink forward, catch up, or like do single target stuff, or just AE 2 targets. I don't know the break point for AE
also
to be better.
With a learning curve, because that's something I talked about earlier as well. Because in just pure movement, Arcane Explosion is going to be a huge factor that people are. That's how we play now, just Arcane Explosion in the entire raids. But what we were told from beta players, from private server players, is that Blizzard is just more damage, and it is in paper, but when the mobs aren't controlled and still, you have to keep moving with the mobs, and some mobs are out of the range, some aren't, and when you can move around that, Arcane Explosion is just going to be more damage, and we have to get used to when to Blizzard and when to Arcane Explosion, and that's just going to come with experience as well.
I think there's definitely a lot of skill that goes with it, or just not necessarily skill, but like learning, I should say. It's just like, because if you have a mage that goes into there thinking you're hitting the gas, breakneck speeds, and they think they can just kind of take it easy, drink when they need to or whatever, and they're not keeping up, they're not taking advantage of blizzarding until they get a clear casting proc, then recast it into another good place where the mobs are running to and everything like that. They miss out on 1 AoE pack. That's so much damage in Nax. Nax is just like a whole another kind of ball field in terms of like maximizing your overall damage. Now, are you saying they're also low on single target? Because in that case, I would definitely say that that's probably also a learning curve, because Arcane should definitely be doing good.
Mages slap
on single target. 100%, especially if you give one an Innervate. And we'll talk about that later, but the Innervate is actually a lot bigger than I thought it would, and I really hate saying that because I wanted to get away from Innervate. I hate having to rely on that shit. I fucking hate it. I absolutely hate it. I don't know.
Is it affected by the mana bug?
Knows I hate it. What's that?
Like, does it get like a multiplier?
No,
from the mana
bug? It's always just a bit under. It's always just a bit under 8k mana. You can think of it like it's like 7,800 something. Because it's always based on the. Yeah, that's not affected by it. No, but that set amount of mana doesn't sound like much, but
it's a lot.
When we talk about Arcane, the spec overview here, it allows you to keep blasting Arcane Blast and fishing for Missile Barrage procs. When you don't have that in your back pocket, you get to play a little bit more conservatively, and so it helps take this variance, right, of bad luck and really smooth it out by having that Innervate, and allows you to pump more. So it's actually still big, and it pisses me off. Can't wait till we don't have to worry about it.
Crix, can you link that log?
I would say, quick to your point about just skill, while Crix is finding the log. Just like learning curve and planning the raid just are instrumental to like mana users skill, in general and like AoE classes. It's huge. Like
it's just like food for thought. So I didn't run into, one, a lot of mages, and two, a lot of good mages. Do you think that's something where like more people are going to play Mage when it releases, or do you think Mage has slowly become a class that's more underwhelming for people in terms of their enjoyment, and they just kind of want to get away from it? Because a lot of people are just hopping on, like, you know, you're seeing the DKs, the Warlocks, the Rogues, right? And it's like slowly people are picking up Hunters again.
It's because people are shit talking Mage nonstop, and they don't think they can.
You think that's part of the impression?
Literally,
right?
I mean,
it's funny though.
The amount of people that usually in my fucking chat that go, Mages are trash. How are the Mages? And then I show them a log. I'm like, Mages fucking pump in the right hands. The problem is, like you said, you don't know if it could be your Mages. These are fusion Mages, so obviously they kind of know what they're doing. But if you're pugging, and we have a shit Mage in there, that's just the Mage's fault. He's misusing his mana. He's not taking advantage of shit that these Mages in here would know how to do, which is why we're doing this, right? Is to get eyes on the Mages, on each class, but the Mages specifically, and how to play it.
We've seen that a lot with every class.
Every class.
Like every class. Like I'm seeing that with 90% of Hunter logs, right?
Oh yeah.
We're seeing like a huge
player over class and
Hunter. Yes, that is the best thing. You're the only Hunter I've seen on beta yet do any kind of work damage, and that's what everybody keeps saying.
And I've seen the bipolar Hunters do crazy damage.
Lando was slapping his off right with that. But yeah, you don't see Hunters pumping. I'm like, no, Hunters do everything. Not everything, but to the most degree. Boomy, I'll use that as an example. I really thought they were trash. Now look. We had to wait on Shadow Priest because they got fixed. We got to hold up a little bit on that, but I hope they go like a good amount better. But we'll see. We can't tell. Alano was copying Hunters, one of those Mages the same way, especially because Mages and the template gear, like they said, worse than a lot of the other casters, if I'm saying just casters. But also, you need to know what you're doing or you're running out of mana. And what do you do when you're out of mana if you're just holding W? Nothing. You sit and drink, and you wait for combat, sit and drink, then you try to catch up, but you never end up catching up, then your overall just plummets, you know?
Yeah.
Mana management for Arcane is insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like the difference between a skilled mage and like a bad mage, even in TBC, and that just widens, to be honest, in Wrath of Lich King, with just the complexity of the Arcane toolkit actually getting complex instead of just Pepega Arcane blasting. The only skill expression of Arcane Mage right now is mana management, cooldown staggering, and just general spacing of how you're positioning and obtaining mana throughout the runs. Positioning Arcane Explosions relatively easy, to be honest, but it gets a lot more complex in Wrath. It's not just Pepega Arcane Explosion, as Felipe said. You got to figure out if it's the right time to Blizzard or not, or if you're fire, what kind of spells you're casting there. Arcane honestly isn't just Arcane Blast anymore. You do weave in missiles, and when to do that, when to use Presence of Mind, how to cooldown stagger, because actually you might even have to do that as a troll in phase 1 is still a thing. And this just widens the gap between mages that are good and bad. And again, Arcane just scales incredibly well with gear and like a well-oiled raid machine that like is doing great pulls of bosses and trash. So if you just have a mage on beta that's in template gear that is just sitting back and drinking, you're just W keying mindlessly through the trash, and they don't understand what's going where or not trying, they're going to be bottom of the meters. Unquestionably.
And then imagine them with more gear. This just gets, obviously everybody gets more gear, but the fact that the mages get, you know, their 4K mana under what they would be in even just Prebis gear, or even close to Prebis gear, they would be even more so. Obviously, they're mana users. This goes for everybody, obviously, more gear. I'm not saying they wouldn't, but I don't think as much as mages do.
Even beyond that, the evocation going from an 8-minute cooldown to a 2-minute cooldown is just insane. People aren't used to that and using it on cooldown. So a lot of time people are in beta and they just don't use their evocation for like 8 minutes straight when they could be using it 4 times. So the mana feels a lot harsh.
That's a huge change.
Or they save it, right? They save it until they're instead of like, well, now's a good time. Just get it on cooldown. It'll be back up before you know it. Especially once in live when we have tier 3 2-piece and it goes down to 1 minute, right? So
yeah, that's a big thing that you don't have either.
But anyways,
I will say that while we're here, Mage is very easy to play right now. Arcane is very easy to play, I feel like, on top of that. If you hold it in comparison to other classes, for those, I can say that a lot. For those wondering, like people come
in the shield raid,
they look ask, what are the easiest classes to play? I'm like, I don't know, fucking Ass Rogue and like what I don't even know the other easy ones, but I know Astrog's pretty easy.
Astrog
Arcane Mage is pretty easy. You know,
if you have time to drink
Destro's
before it's
really
full,
easy.
100%. But if you're just pushing for speed,
Yeah.
Arcane becomes one of
I
the
feel like
harshest
if you're
specs.
if you're not holding W, I really like your health bar in the middle. That's kind of cool. I really like if you have time to sit and drink, I don't think there's going to be an issue with mages getting Innervates unless you're short on healers, right?
Yeah, that's a huge part of the skill gap.
Yeah, that's a big one. But you're holding a lot of people are holding W, and that's where it matters, right? Especially because that's like the most crucial mana. You class,
mentioned that people are like considering re-rolling, and I do think it's partially because people are shitting on mages and saying that they're bad, but also it's just not engaging right now. They're like, people are just riding the hype train of good classes right now into Wrath. People are getting hype about DKs, the classes that are seeing more fundamental changes. People are maybe Fire waiting room and playing something else until Fire becomes good. Maybe just bored of Arcane playing it for an entire expansion and don't want to play it for another phase. There's a multitude of reasons why people are kind of shying away from Mage, but
we're here for, baby.
I mean, it's the opposite in Fusion, though. Like, we actually had a bunch of locks and other classes re-rolling Mage, and so we had too many mages, and we had to fill like 12 plus spots for more locks.
My locks are tired of. My locks are just tired of casting. They're just tired of a 2-button, 1-button rotation, and they're shying away from casters completely. They're saying, "F casters. I'm playing melee. I'm tired of not being able to hold W while playing my class."
Fusion locks
and
are
pressing
here, baby.
spacebar important.
Fusion locks are here, ready to pump. We're excited as fuck. What's up? Fuck mages. I can say that today. I forgot. Sarthe, you want to say anything about anything?
I was really liking Mage's single target. I was really I was impressed by Mage's single target. I do think that in Nax in particular, the skill gap on damn it, I'm going to mention overall. Snap's going to clip it. The skill gap for everyone is going to be huge because how you manage your cooldowns, how you manage drinking, how you manage your mana, like Felipe was saying, is like getting used to whatever pacing your raid is doing is going to be absolutely crucial. And a lot of people don't really care too much about overall. So then their single target DPS is all that matters. And I think Arcane seems to be in a really solid spot. We'll have to see as like we get into raids with like less of these bugs and such, but it seems like everyone's in a decent spot at least. And I think Mage is like cool. It's really cool that they have a lot more choices of abilities to use than in the Burning Crusade. I even at first used to think that they were super simple in Burning Crusade, but then sagging your CDs and positioning and timing really adds up overall throughout a raid. It adds up significantly. So I think every class just gets better. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where things go. And then when they get to go Fire at the end, or whenever you guys get to switch to Fire, I'm sure you'll let me know. But I know you guys just pop off.
They're already popping off. What's this future talk about mages slapping? Do you guys not see these logs? Do you not see them in the raid absolutely carrying? A good mage is carrying. Quit this future talk. They're slapping right now. Respect where respect is due, bro. Fire day 1. Yeah, that's like 2 topics away. Marco, shut up. Class. Now we can go into class overviews. I want to go over to. You don't need me to touch on how mages are in the beta. I'll just rant on them forever.
Real quick, I mean, we could touch on a few that, like, if you wanted some of the mage class changes.
Yeah, like,
just
the
evocation.
Like yeah, there you go.
Evocation is now 2-minute instead of 8-minute. Invis always goes off. It goes off like after 2 seconds now instead of 5, and also goes off even if you're taking damage, so we get a free out in every combat unless you have exhaustion debuff. In that case you got to die so that you reset that so you can get hero again, which sucks. Mirror image is basically, you can think of it like blessing of protection, which will now be hand of protection, but you continue gaining threat, but you can't actually get aggro from any mobs. So that's a great skill to use anytime you're doing a big AoE pull, like where you know the tanks aren't going to be able to hold a lot of threat or whatever. You pre-pop that as you're going in, and then you can go crazy with fire starter, flame strikes, whatever you want. You're not going to get threat. And also, it's a good GCD if you're in the middle of combat and you haven't used it. It's a good GCD to obviously use on the move, but the mirror images also actually, if they stay alive the entire time in DPS, their AI is a little finicky, so that's if they don't, sometimes they bug out and don't attack, and that sucks. So it's best to pre-pop them before going into the boss, and then also you don't have to worry about threat with the boss right off the bat. But if you haven't, for whatever reason, say you was on cooldown, it comes off in the middle of the boss, and there's more than 30 seconds left on the boss fight, it's a good GCD to use because the amount of damage they'll do is actually pretty good. It's the best kind of GCD you have. Or it should be very close. Depends on if you don't do it while in CDs, of course. And then Frostfire Bolt, you could think of that as Fireball mixed with Frostbolt. It both slows the mob as well as puts a dot on the mob like Fireball does, and it benefits from both schools of magic for your talents, and it'll choose the school of magic for resistance wise that the target has less of when it comes to the resistance checks.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Those are just a few. Like now, when we go over the specs, we'll cover all the other ones. But when I was just looking through some of the spec specific stuff, I think those are kind of outside of they apply to all specs.
Yeah, I think the usage of those mirror images for the threat, not pulling aggro, seems incredible. I mean, obviously, threat's not the biggest issue in this expansion, but if say you weren't getting a good tricks rolling or something, just even on AoE pulls and moving mobile AoE pulls, if you're instantly AEing and you're in melee range, that's pretty huge.
It's huge to you definitely want to be utilizing it smartly as well as saving it. That's another place where you want to be saving it for those kind of big pulls. Although once we get tier 10 I believe it's either 2-piece or 4-piece. One of the set bonuses is when you have mirror images up, when you get 18% more damage for 30 seconds because mirror images last 30 seconds. So we basically have to use mirror image with our cooldowns there. We don't get a choice to just use it around threat then. But usually you pop them when you want to pump anyway, so it works out. And that's not until tier 10. That's ICC time. So anyways.
That's a big pump. All right.
Remind me of little image homies, bro.
Man.
Why they got
just
different haircuts?
Gang. I don't know.
Say it, Zai.
I'm just sitting here and I'm looking at the log and I'm just this shit looks like fake news to me. 4,600 DPS in an overall clear is garbage.
It was not high as the number one.
I'm looking at other logs that are an hour and 40 minutes, and Simon Eyes has 5,800 DPS. Oro has 5,400, and that's not a bugged class. I'm just and there's multiple logs too. I'm just this, and Metamancy on death, or what is this, Demo log has 5,500 DPS. I feel 4,600 is actually really
how
low.
fast that we're going though too, right? You can't look at
but I'm saying I'm looking at
done?
I'm looking at hour and a half logs still.
Okay.
Right?
But at the same time, is that also the same? If you look at that meta one, if you can link it, I think that's the AF log one, right?
Yeah, he's playing.
Is that the one where I'm AF?
He's playing Demonology. Are you playing AF? I don't know where you are here.
Is it this one? There's a log here somewhere when it loads. Oh, no, that's Marco's log.
Oh, yeah,
without the usual reasons why it's hard to compare beta logs, I don't think I'm not in a position to make a statement that metas are topping necessarily in phase 1, but I think between the utility that they might provide, if you consider maybe not running a ret paladin, their 3% damage is arcane, yada yada, that there will be a reason to bring at least one in a raid.
Also in this situation, in these ones exactly, you have one or two people doing a lot of AoE, and this one you have an actual ton of people doing AoE, trying to hound the AoE versus one person. Fucking one. It looks like one person, two people know what they're doing in this whole fucking raid doing AoE. You know?
Yeah. Isn't the arcane 3% damage? Yeah, I guess so.
And metas and Nax gear.
It probably is the best of the people who would offer it. It's definitely better than Ret Paladin, right?
It's comp dependent, right? So it depends on how many paladins you want to bring, whether or not you consider bringing Ret Paladin or you consider doing the weird try-hard warrior battle shout stuff, because Ret Paladin makes that a lot more comfortable. But I mean, there's a lot of just external factors, non-specific to Mage, that determines the slot and the utility and the rage beyond just the damage profile. So
fire pump, damn. Yeah. Oh, anyways.
They're the only ones who offer an int buff, I guess.
Go ahead. I'm team Mage is slapped and no one can talk me out of it.
Yeah.
I'm also team everybody else just has bad mages in the raid or something.
There's no log for it, but I did top the details logs for that Nax, Cyrene.
Did you? Which one?
I have that. The one we didn't log.
Which one?
He took a screenshot. He'll pull it up from his beta.
Who's in that one?
I'll pull it out.
Who's in that one?
Some bad Ret Paladin. I don't know.
Shit.
Okay, so
I'm using her room right now. You can't be mean to her, man. I gotta defend her. Ret Paladin is bad. She's a good bad class.
What is take it away, one of the specs, one of you guys can go down deep, spec it up.
I think Felipe is probably best positioned to do this as the Wowhead guide writer for all of the specs recently released, hot off the press.
What do you want to go first?
Certainly the Frost.
Want to start with Frost?
Yes, yeah.
I'm not
my
doing
favorite
Frost. Fuck
spec.
that shit. Dude,
My favorite mage spec. The most fun
I'm
spec
not
to me
doing
is this
Frost,
one.
man. Frost is so fucking complicated, even though it's so fucking shit.
Really?
Yeah, it has like instant cast procs. Compared to the other two specs, like the hardest one.
You have three instant casts. You have 3 procs you have to watch out for. So while you have a spam button, you're not spamming, Frostbolt. You have to wait for your Fingers of Frost, or you wait for your Brain Freeze or your Deep Freeze, and that's what makes that spec a lot of fun to me.
It's going blurry.
The AOE damage is great. Renee.
Yeah.
She came by to be like, "What the fuck, you talking shit?"
She was like, "Red powder is the best."
Damn.
Those procs as a Frost Mage is what makes Frost Mage really fun to me.
Where's it trying to focus?
Obviously, it's not as good as Arcane and shit, but I like it.
I can go over Arcane to start, I guess.
Over Arcane first.
Well, if you want to do Frost and like knock it out.
I just want to knock Frost. Nobody cares about Frost, so you might as well get it over with.
Well, I mean, it's not like
the
worst DPS. People could go it. Here, I put a link to, if you want to bring up the rotation from the Wowhead, that'll maybe just like help talk about, I don't know how easy it is.
I'm looking at Crix's back, to be honest, but...
The dummy I'll go to. Keep talking. No,
What's
someone
that?
can talk about. I'm gonna go to dummy.
Oh, you're just gonna go to the dummy
better
and
now, Zareen.
do it then? Well, basically, I mean, you're spamming Frostbolt. You have a glyph where your water elemental is always going to be up, and so you just want to make sure your water elemental is always casting. So there's going to be some probably micromanagement that you have to do there.
Does that thing still have mana?
Yes.
Yes.
Does it go
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know when though.
Does
it drink with you?
Ever to go do?
You just put water back in the Ellie? How's that work?
I mean, it still has a cooldown, so you can recast it.
Yeah,
you recast it?
Dismiss it and recast it. Yeah.
Ooh.
Mana type
And also, then if there's any second, heroisms, it could get a second.
It does work, yeah.
It's not like a warlock pet that runs out of aggro relief. I mean, runs out of mana instantly or something like that. It lasts a while with mana.
Willie needs Innervate, please. Thank you.
But no, so with Frost, you get some certain key talents like Fingers of Frost. It gives your chill effects a 50% chance to grant you the Fingers of Frost effect, which treats your next 2 spell casts as if the target were frozen. So with like Frost, it gets 50% extra critical strike chance against frozen targets, and then also 100% bonus damage to your critical strike damage bonus, right? So when you have Fingers of Frost up, you want to be casting Frost bolts. However, it gives you 2 charges on that for Fingers of Frost. So you cast a Frost bolt, it consumes 1 Finger of Frost. On the second one, you want to cast Deep Freeze. And if Deep Freeze is, if the target's frozen and you cast Deep Freeze, it stuns them. But if they're stun immune, then it does a good amount of frost damage to the target. So on bosses which are stun immune, right, you utilize that second charge of Fingers of Frost with the Frost bolt, as well as casting a Deep Freeze. And then you also get there's another talent, Brain Freeze.
Well, hold on, you can't just cast Deep Freeze. You have to have it up to do it. You can't just cast it whenever you want. Like I can't cast it right now. You have to have the proc to cast it. So right now I got a Fingers of Frost. I can't cast that. I can't. You know what I mean? It's down. You can't do that.
Okay, yeah. So you also are you Frost back then?
Yeah, I'm Frost right now.
Okay.
He's a welly.
So I was gonna say if you could bring up the talent tree.
Yeah, of course.
And
we'll bring up a roll in here.
Well, so because then there's also Brain Freeze, and you could scroll down.
Yeah, Brain Freeze is a proc that lets you send your Frostfire, your
yeah, 50. Yeah, your frost damage spells with chilling effects have a 15% chance to cause your next fireball or Frostfire bolt. You're going to do Frostfire, of course, for this to be instant cast and cost no mana. So when you get Brain Freeze proc, cast your Frostfire bolt, and again, Frostfire bolt double dips from both fire and Frost Tree. So, or not necessarily double dips, but it just benefits from both. So you're going to cast that, and it's going to do big damn. And I don't know. So it actually, I haven't played it yet in beta. Next raid openings, I'm going to be doing that.
That's why I'm here, because nobody wants to play Frost, bro. Slept on. It's not as good as
dude. I mean, I was having.
Even fucking Felipe said it today in my chat, bro. He said it's better than fire on a single target in tier 7, bro.
In pre-raid.
It's not bad.
In pre-raid.
It's
in pre-raid.
going to be good later. So
yeah. It's
least
literally garbage right away. Yeah. No,
it's for one raid.
And mana. You have better mana. Probably don't have any mana issues as Frost as well.
But it's not better than Arcane.
No, of course not. No, it's Arcane is the play.
Is that what the mages say?
Yes. Pre-raid base, Arcane for sure to play. It's like 800 DPS ahead.
Yeah, the mages.
But
800.
Frost is slightly ahead just because of the hit it gets. Like Fire has to jam all hit to get hit capped. It's just dog shit.
17% is kind of rough, kind of steep.
Yeah,
they only give the boom
Frost
the
gets
Shadow
a
Priest. That's
3%.
it.
I will wait until it's my chance to talk as far as whether I think Wendigo. Well, I'll wait until the Wendigo fire to share my.
Yeah, we're talking about the the hit.
Are we just talking
right
pre-bis? Are we talking phase one? Are we
We'll
talking
talk phase 1. You can talk a little bit into
Yeah,
Old War
yeah.
since that's what we're talking about a little bit. But yeah, well, no need to talk about ICC in this. Everybody knows how powerful you guys are in ICC.
I was talking about pre-raid.
Yeah, I'm like, I think pre-raid and Nax is like most of the focus here, with some looking ahead.
Yep. So then I would say prepare for fire in the future, but for right now you're going to want to be Arcane for Nax. That's how I would put that.
A lot of people are disappointed.
Specifically
like-
on Frost.
Why are they? Why would they be disappointed though?
They're like, we've been Arcane all TBC.
Oh,
I hate
yeah,
this shit. Yeah, a lot of people were looking forward to fire.
Fire is
It
super
does get
fun.
more fun. It gets a little.
It's
more
way
fun.
more fun, dude. Tig, you know it's more fun.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you drop into the fire starter, you get an instant cast flame strikes, the hot streak procs, you're tossing out living bombs everywhere. It's
Except for a single target.
way more fun.
Right?
So
In Wrath
Frost
Arcane
is-
also becomes very different.
is the
Frost
scaling?
does look more
go
fun, yeah.
ahead.
On single
What
target
did
side.
Felipe say?
Yeah, I was saying in Wrath, Arcane is also like basically a different class with the same aesthetic. It's completely different. The way you control your mana changes entirely. So instead of just pressing Arcane Blast and just waiting for the like 30-ish% mana and then using filler to wait for your mana pot, mana gem, and all that shit, you just from the start you're already conserving mana by using the procs. You're not just going throughout all your mana from the start. So even though it's just different class with the same aesthetic, that's what I feel like. So people can't really be comparing TBC with a Wrath Arcane.
So what's different? Do I do 3 or 4 Arcane Blasts and then another ability and then back to Arcane Blast instead of Arcane Blast the whole time?
Yeah.
It's what you just added one button. Wait, is that why it's completely different?
But that's
there
fire
are
as
nuances and
100% more
technicalities
buttons.
there.
Fire is the same
technicality
shit,
there.
you just use one button, then
100%
the second
increase.
one sometimes.
Okay.
The only thing that changes is the animation.
Arcane
Actually,
Blast
I
is
mean,
just
I do think the mana
fireball
management is actually more annoying because of the fact that it's still a mana negative rotation regardless, right? Like you get unlucky with Arcane Barrage or Missile Barrage procs. It's really annoying, and it's not like back in TBC you could just I'm just gonna do Frostbolt filler. There we go, and I'll just slowly gain back some mana. You can't do that, and also like it's kind of RNG based, and it's how much you want to gamble in a way. But utilizing just spamming Arcane Blast during your CDs and keeping up that 4 stack instead of resetting it with Missile Barrage is also advisable if you can get away with it. And so I don't know. There's nuance there that is going to take some learning, and that if mages aren't paying attention to that and they're just they're just going to 4 stacks of Arcane Blast and then they cast Arcane Missiles and that's just all they do.
Yeah.
They're not going to be as high in the meters.
Random question. Scenario: you have infinite mana and you have cooldowns going, like lust and everything. Is your best rotation to just press Arcane Blast if mana was no issue, or do you have to weave the others in still?
If mana was no issue, but if mana was no
Arcane
issue,
Blast is still your best.
But you can't do it. It chunks
Yeah.
your mana.
I'm just saying hypothetical situation, right?
Yeah.
Would you, because you're only weaving those things in to just avoid going right? So if there was a fight
it's
where
good
I would,
DPS too, but yes, I mean,
Okay.
it's because it resets your stack. It actually is really good DPS. But it resets your stack is the problem. So then you have
Gotcha.
to
Can you
If it
talk
didn't
about
reset your
Arcane
stack,
Barrage
it'd be
while you're
amazing.
there? Because a couple people were asking about it. Because you're not.
Yeah.
I mean,
Use
the
Arcane
whole
Barrage?
thing was you never use Arcane
Yeah.
Blast, and now you guys are. So talk about it.
Well,
Please.
so yeah, I was using Arcane Barrage to reset stacks to avoid the RNG, like if I needed to conservatively. But the the math has been done by the Mage Discord. God bless their souls. And what was the term you guys came up with? Greedy Arcane Missiles? I can't remember. But either way, there's a 40% chance, right, that you're going to get Missile Barrage proc when you do an Arcane Blast. If you're going to hit Arcane Missiles, right? Regardless, you're at 4 stacks or you're about to get 4 stacks, you're going to hit Arcane Missiles regardless, right? There's a 40% chance you're going to get the Missile Barrage proc there. So actually, on average, it's better DPS, even if you don't have the Missile Barrage proc, to hard cast your Arcane missiles instead of doing Arcane Barrage. And then that also frees you up a talent point. Granted, it's only 1 talent point, but
exactly what we've been saying.
Wow.
So
even if it's the slow one, do
you
you
just hard cast the slow Arcane missiles. Yep. Missile Barrage gamble. Thank you, Mechacone. Yeah, Missile Barrage gamble.
You don't cancel it though?
Well, if the fight has a lot of movement, you'd still probably want Arcane. So you could have 2 specs, right? Dual talent, and you could switch to that. If it has a lot of movement, then I think Arcane Barrage is probably still going to be in your favor because there isn't anything else you're going to be doing as Arcane. So like think Firefighter. If you're going to go Arcane, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're going to go Arcane for Firefighter in Alduar, I probably would want Arcane Barrage with the amount of movement you have to do with the fires, right? You have to stand close to the fire so that it spreads in a certain way, and then you have to move with it. And
it's also nice
something to shoot out.
It's nice in leveling dungeons when you have really bad gear and just need the dump. It's
definitely it's definitely way better at lower or lesser gear, right?
What is your that 1 point that you wouldn't put in Barrage? Where is it going? Is it going to something valuable?
2% spirit or 3% spirit.
Okay, cool.
Well, you should have that anyways. I was going to say
it could be the range one.
3 yards.
It's the other way around.
You're going to get 3 yards.
Yeah, it's the other way around. It's
nice,
what you're giving up to get the Arcane Barrage. The Arcane Barrage shouldn't be baseline.
Okay, well, what else is Arcane is new?
Arcane Power is a lower cooldown through talents, as well as Evocation is something of note. It goes down to 2 minutes baseline and then gets reduced 30% through talents. So you actually have more buttons to press, which coincidentally also widens the gap between bad and good players. I don't know if you know, but there's generally a study done on items that have an active in most games versus passive, and usually the active ones have horrible win rates, even though they're overpowered just because people don't press their buttons. So if you have more buttons to press, usually it accentuates good gameplay. But yeah, you get to usually probably get 2 APs in on even a short boss fight. If a boss fight's under 2 minutes, you can still get 2 APs.
Okay. While you guys are talking, can one of you guys send an Arcane build, raid build, talk about it?
I would just use probably the WoW head.
Okay, cool. I'll do that.
Let's see if we can get that.
Yeah, I can find it.
Yeah, I mean I was just about to link that for you, but
I got a link. I made him a special.
then on
I
Trash,
made Mage as a special command.
Okay.
On Trash for Arcane, are you switching then, like you were mentioning earlier, it is in an ideal world, in a vacuum, it's more damage to spam Blizzard, but more often than not, if you're moving quickly, you'll use a lot of Arcane Explosions.
It's also the positioning, because the mobs won't be just focused on one spot, especially if you're pulling from several spots at the same time. Which is probably what's going to happen. You're going to have like 2 or 3 tanks split up in a room and just pull from both sides, and then group as you're leaving the room and just AoE it all while on the move. So with AE, you can control where it's actually going off through your movement, while Blizzard, you're just having to plunk it and basically guessing. So it's a lot harder to get it perfectly.
Gotcha.
I would say it's a combination.
Yeah, I'm seeing based on the log that has those 2 mages at the top, most of their damage is Arcane Blast, and then second highest for Idiot Box is Blizzard at 20% of his damage, and then his Arcane Explosion is 3% of his damage. And for Criteria, Arcane Explosion was 5% of your damage in that run. You guys are casting Blizzard about the same frequency, but the full channels are seeming to do like a lot more.
Yeah,
per
so
tick
it depends
per
on
hit. What's the damage differential? Sorry for interrupting you. Go for it, Krat.
Oh, you're good. I was just going to say, I mean, it depends on how the raid is doing it, right? So the way Fusion is doing it is a lot of large pulls, and then they're all going to a one spot and not moving around. And so I think what Felipe was saying is, you could absolutely combine that strategy, right? So you have the Arcane Explosion for as they're coming in from different sides, right? Where the Blizzard wouldn't work. You can jump, get some leeway, Arcane Explosion, hit them all. When they're all clumped up, though, you definitely want a Blizzard. And so like Fusion's not moving them or moving them slightly. You Blizzard, it's hitting them all. Even if they're getting moved slightly, you're probably going to get a clear casting proc during that. And then you can recast it as they're moving along. And that will be more damage than just doing Arcane Explosion. And it's going to be way more mana efficient too, is what I found. That's the big thing I found, is that those clear casting procs with Blizzard really helps out your mana overall. And so I know Foji in one of their runs, not from this past weekend, but 2 weekends ago, W Keen hitting Arcane Explosion can definitely work too. If your guild is, it depends on how you guys are doing the pulls, right? If you're just W keying and you're not really keeping those mobs in place, then yeah, you're going to have to Arcane Explosion as you move. But that's also going to be harder on the mana, especially when we have the mana change here, whenever that gets fixed or whatever, the mana bug. So if you can, I would say definitely Blizzard. It's going to be more DPS and it's going to be more mana efficient because of the clear casting procs. And that is actually how it was back in the day too. That's not something that'll go away with the clear casting procs. That is, I say we, but the Mage Discord, and I can't remember who it was. That's why I just always say Mage Discord. And obviously there's some, very committed individuals who do all the work there. But I can't remember everyone who does everything. But so just in general, Mage Discord looked into this, found old videos from back in the day, and yeah.
This is a conversation you're gonna have with your tanks. Yeah, it'd be like, stop fucking moving. Like, just plant.
Dude,
like,
every shaman is gonna say that. Every shaman is about to say that too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is very true. Yeah.
They, Blizzard, he said it is clear casting and it can crit. I don't know if someone said that too.
So then you can utilize Wild Magic Pot with Blizzard, and also do you use Palm Flame Strike in this rotation whatsoever? Is that even like a
you use Palm Blizzard for their actual crit chance, and then you use so the Palm doesn't give you the instant cast on Blizzard, but it does provide a buff that gives you about, I think it's 30% crit on the next cast.
Yeah,
so you can use
Arcane potency.
It gives you 30% crit on the entire Blizzard, then you still have the Palm to use on the Flame Strike afterwards.
That's amazing.
Yeah, all clear casts and presence of mind give that to your next cast, and then it will just snapshot to the whole Blizzard if you use it on that.
That's huge. Yeah,
those, I suppose we should probably cover some of the changes. So yeah, like Blizzard can crit now, and just some other big talent changes that, like, again, if anyone hasn't looked at it, like, I know in the past Wowhead's been a meme, like, oh, you're trusting a Wowhead guide. It all comes down to the writer. There's some amazing writers out there. Felipe is one of them. Makes amazing guides. Super knowledgeable Mage, of course. Obviously, we all know that. I think that's why he's here, right? He is really detailed out a lot of the changes to existing abilities and talents. I'm literally just like going down it right now. So like Arcane Focus now doesn't give us 10% hit. It only gives us 3%. So we actually do need some more, but we also can pick up Precision, the Frost talent. And that now just gives 3% to all schools of magic. So we get 3% hit there. Mind Mastery is not as good. So instead of 25% intellect getting converted to spell power, it's now 15%, but it's still valuable to us to some extent because it's still 15%. Like Tig mentioned, Arcane Power is now 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes. And it's also been nerfed to 20% more damage while costing 20% more mana instead of 30% like it was before. Another thing on that, Arcane Power and Palm can no longer be used together. So just FYI on that, you'll notice that when you cast Arcane Power, that Palm will go on cooldown and vice versa. Let's see. We've already kind of talked about Arcane Blast and how, well, I guess we didn't really talk about it. We just started talking without touching on it. But Arcane Blast now, it stacks up to 4, and each stack increases the damage instead of decreasing the cast time. So it's a lot harder to be GCD capped, although as Troll and as we get more haste and haste proc trinkets, you actually still can get GCD capped. So even in phase 1. Yeah, even in phase 1, especially, Troll, like you guys right away are having to stagger your Berserking and your and you can't even speed pot off the bat too once you guys get like Embrace of the Spider trinket, right? So those are some of the big ones. And then there's also new abilities such as Torment the Weak, so that just increases our damage by 12%. And it says in the tooltip for Torment the Weak, it says 12% more damage to snared or slowed targets. And you might be thinking, well, bosses can't be snared or slowed, so why does it give us 12% more damage? It applies to attack speed slows as well, so like Thunderclap and your Frost Fever from DK. So you should always have Torment the Weak up for the most part. Probably not on all the trash though, so that's something to keep in mind.
Infected wounds and Judgments of the Just as well.
Yeah, those two work as but like those are never used.
Nobody's
right?
taking those. Yeah, it's a waste,
right?
if you have a DK, he's actually touching at some point.
That's true. 10 mans and whatnot. Yeah. And 10 mans, for whatever reason you don't have a DK, which should like never happen. If you don't have a DK and you have a warrior, I think something's gone horribly wrong. But you tell them to Thunderclap then for sure. Let's see. You get Focus Magic, which is a buff. We'll touch on that later, but it gives 3% crit chance to a friendly target, and then when that person crits, it gives the caster, so the mage, a 3% crit buff for 10 seconds, and you can't put that on yourself, so you can't just be greedy like that. If they could allow us to put it on ourselves, then that's all that would ever happen, right? We talked kind of about Missile Barrage. You get a 40% chance when you're casting Arcane Blast for your next, what is it? Yeah, your Arcane Blast is a 40% chance, but your Arcane Barrage, Fireball, Frostbolt, and Frostfire spells have a 20% chance to give you Missile Barrage proc, which Reduces the mana cost of your arcane missiles by 100%, and your missiles will fire every 0.5 seconds. And so that's the good way to consume your arcane blast stacking debuff. Because the way that, yeah, I guess I should have touched on that. When it stacks up to 4, and it makes it so that your next arcane damage spell, except arcane blast, well, it increases the damage of your next arcane blast or all arcane spells, but you have to use something other than arcane blast to clear it off and to get rid of the debuff, and your mana cost ends up increasing a ton as you stack up that arcane blast debuff. No, you don't have
over
the guide
1,000 per blast at 4. It's crazy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it chunks
crazy.
your mana
What?
down so quick. That's why you can't during CDs. I mean, unless you get lucky with clear casting procs or something, you can't just spam it. Or if you have a big,
Would Innervate allow you to full spam?
That's 7.8
Innervate's
flat
only
mana, and then you can get
That's
mana
like
type 2
4
on the
ABs.
usual. So
especially with
Simple.
arcane power, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's kind of the main ones I guess we've touched on. But we also have Student of the Mind. So Molten Armor, I guess that's another big change, right? Molten Armor now gives a percentage. It gives you crit rating based on a percentage of your spirit. And so we have a talent, Student of the Mind, which gives bonus spirit. And so that gives you some extra mana regen. And then also that extra spirit's going to give you some more crit. So spirit on gear is now not only good because, so before we cared about it because of the regen, and also it helped give more mana from Innervate. Now we care about it because, you know, somewhat the regen, but also we get more crit from spirit. So
Molten Armor, the armor of choice now for
always.
Yeah. All specs.
It's just the bug and really, really bad gear that ever meant you saw mage armor basically on.
So I was gonna ask, are
Arcanes
you
or
ever
other
using mage
mages.
armor ever?
Yeah, you just always use Molten Armor, all specs. And then the last thing is there's Incanter's Absorption. Now, a lot of people have talked about this, like, well, there's cool Incanter's Absorption plays you could do back on private servers. Why aren't we doing that now? Well, that's because, like, on private servers, you could so Incanter's Absorption is when your Mana Shield, Frost Ward, Fire Ward, or Ice Barrier absorbs damage, your spell damage is then increased by 15% of the amount absorbed for 10 seconds. So what you could do is then Fire Ward before the boss is pulled. You could Sapper, deal damage to yourself, increase your spell power, and then you could use Sulfur on Slammers to keep that rolling, but that's not the way it works on live. And so you can't keep that rolling.
Awesome.
So Incanter's Absorption has been shown, like Mechacone was doing a bunch of sims with it, probably other people as well. I'm sure Felipe as well was looking at it, and for like 60 seconds for short fights, or it looks like it can be a DPS increase, but otherwise you're basically giving up Student of the Mind for that. And so on longer than 60 seconds, it's not a DPS increase. It could have some, you know, niche uses on bosses with a lot of AoE, where there's maybe downtime where you can't be DPS in the boss. You could cast that, cast like a Frost Ward, like maybe like Saffron or something like that, get absorbed and then do spell damage. You know, maybe some things like that. So with dual talent spec, you could have that in your dual talent, switch to it for those fights or whatever. But otherwise, as a general rule, you're not going to be taking Incanter's Absorption.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much, that's most everything.
Fights.
Sarthe 3D spec.
Yeah.
Just
say
eat
that
the
again,
firewall.
Yeah.
Thank you, Criteria.
How much does it increase your spell power by? How much does it increase?
I was just gonna say, so that's basically just a very, very niche tool for like Criteria said, for Sarthe. If you want to parse, that's gonna be your go-to in very specific bosses or in like super, super short bosses. That's about it. Like in overall, it just doesn't outperform the rest of the talents that you can get.
Yeah, because like your overall damage is going to suffer from not having Student in the Mind, right? And then the same with your other bosses are going to suffer too. I mean, you could do that's why you do talent, but if you're speedrunning, you're not going to have the chance to switch talents. And it was yeah, and it's someone asked how much is it again? It increases, or your spell damage is increased by 15% of the amount absorbed. So your shields can be pretty big. So it can be 200 to 300 spell power, or is it more? I can't remember. I was looking at it before. But someone's going to correct me in chat. I don't know. Mage Discord chat.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah, Europe linked all the info on it.
Can you rotate between sappers?
So with the sapper, you can get around 300 spell damage from it.
You can use the old sappers, but like it's just worse damage than the current bomb, because the new bombs are instant cast, so it just doesn't make any sense.
Oh, if you could have rolled that, that's hilarious with slammers. It would be so annoying.
Yeah, we just use the new sapper, use slammers, and then 1 minute later you use the current Sapper from TBC, and then 1 week later, you would use the Goblin Sapper. So
it'd be the new snowballs for healers.
It would be.
Let's be honest. Thank God it's not that way.
Yeah.
I don't want my character to be constantly drunk. I can be drunk, not my character. Okay.
Yeah.
I was literally sitting here now. I was like, what if you like mana barrier Dark Rune? I was like, you get like no mana back from the Dark Rune then.
But you get damage.
You get damage though.
Just get Innervates, man. That doesn't matter.
So Arcane as a class is feeling very different. You can go on, Tiggy.
There's a bit about presence of mind, and we touched on this earlier with the Arcane potency thing about how you get 30% crit. Felipe mentioned the quick interplay between that and Blizzard, but an important point to note is that traditionally on bosses, you'll open up with your pre-pot, and then you'll stack 4 Arcane Blasts, and then you start jamming your cooldowns. There's a particular order of operations with your cooldowns if you have all of them available. Usually you want to use presence of mind as soon as possible, but you can't use it during AP. It gets put on like an internal cooldown when you activate it. And because Arcane Blast now stacks the damage that it does with the debuff that applies to yourself, you want the crit buff to apply to a fully stacked Arcane Blast, generally speaking. So unless you need to immediately ramp up, in which case I'd use it on Arcane Blast number 3 and then pop cooldowns on 4, you generally want to use it as your fifth Arcane Blast, once it's stacked up to 4. And then you jam your cooldowns. Yeah, it depends on the spacing, really. A lot of your cooldowns don't align entirely with duration, so there's some like weird stuff where you could Icy Veins early to ramp up sooner, depending on when your guild's gonna Bloodlust on a boss, or not gonna Bloodlust. So there's a lot of weird little micromanagement things to figure out there that both depend on the player being good enough to figure that out, and also being able to plan ahead of time or on the fly for those bosses.
Something we also need to mention that I don't know if everyone knows, but I would definitely have no channeling in your Arcane Blast when playing Arcane.
Yeah, macros are a huge deal in Arcane. Generally,
so if you don't have no channeling in there, you can easily cuck your Arcane missiles. And I was playing around with that. I was doing some with no channeling, and then playing without it. And I wasn't actually looking at my log, and I went back and looked at the logs. There's a lot of times that if you don't wait until that Arcane Blast or that Arcane Missiles is just about finished, you don't get that 5th missile. So I just highly recommend you can play without it. And it's really hard to tell from the logs if there's a micro gap if you use no channeling. So there might be a micro gap there, but that's got to make up for the fact that you'd probably lose some missiles.
Sarthe, it makes it so you can't. It makes it so you can spam. Imagine number 2 is Arcane. Your keybinds 2 is Arcane missiles and 1 is Blast. You can spam 1 without having to worry about clipping it. Same with
channeling spells basically just have
Mind Flay, shit like that.
They have an inherent like stop casting in it if you don't, let's say, the no channeling.
It's like a rogue. You have to literally make a stealth macro. So no stealth, or else you'll cancel your stealth. Yeah,
it doesn't keep cast after the.
It doesn't. So see, then it's going to introduce a micro gap. So then I guess the real min max play is to not use no channeling, and you just have to wait until the Arcane Missiles are just about to finish, which is going to take some practice. So it's actually easier the faster the Arcane Missiles to get that 5th missile. If it's really slow, then it's like.
Just do what hunters do and use auto hotkey.
China's the best mage.
It's not even just China. It's so annoying. It's the worst, dude. It's everywhere.
Since this is Arcane ability, let's go ahead and talk about it, boys. Focus magic. Let's do it.
Can you read out the focus magic? Anyone?
Can I get
Felipe's done the most work on this, but it's still tenuous at best.
Oh, we guess what's theory crafted? We could just sit here and talk some shit about it. You know what I mean?
I can just explain some general statements, but like it's very hard to know yet because a lot of the sims are still very shaky. Like some of the classes just finished their sims very recently, and they still haven't, gone through their period of finding bugs, fixing them, and whatnot. So. But like just as a general statement, for Affliction, I would assume very early on, just on the open, it's better on them because they can get their dots rolling, and then you swap to another person, ideally Mage, right? Just I don't know, but on the open, I think Affliction, just so they can get their dots rolling, and those dots apply that 3% crit over the whole fight. So that's huge gain there. And then you can, if you have a free GCD or not, you can swap to another class. So Boomkin, Mage, whatever. But
What defies who this go? What How do you choose who this goes on? If we talk about it,
whoever has the highest TPS
most,
gain from it. No, whoever has the
most
your
frequent
hunters
critting.
obviously on it.
What do you say, Tiggy?
It's the most frequent critting. So like if you have high crit chance but slow, like it's on crit. So if your cast time's 5 seconds, 50% crit chance, it's probably worse than having like a 2.5 and like.
So a Boomy hitting 65% crit on Starfires. Where's that putting you guys at?
I mean, are you paying me?
Saying like
are you
something?
paying me? Are you giving me Innervates? I mean, because that's
Sometimes
really
we know
what
I'm
determines
saying,
focus magic if we're going to be real.
Yeah, but
Seriously, that's actually so true.
Are you my GM? Are you the one that gives me loot?
well, if we're talking
Focus
about
magic,
objectively,
baby.
where we kind of like, is it just going to be on a mage? You guys, there's no hands down and no one else. Because I just asked you what that question and gave you an example of Starfire from a fucking Boomy. If that crits at 65, obviously slower cast than your Arcane Blast, right? So that's why that casting. That's what I'm asking you. I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so like Europcraft said, like the sims right now are showing like 200, like focus magic is gonna be like 250 for fire, 200 for arcane, 100 for 80 for boomkin. I mean, same thing is though, like we need to, like the sims need to be fleshed out. I think they're still being worked on and everything. I don't know how much we can really necessarily trust those. That's what we have to go off of right now. But obviously there's the uptime portion, but the big caveat I think here is also player skill. Like, so if you have a certain class underperforming, they don't know how to snapshot their dots correctly or something like that, there's no point in putting the focus magic on them. So there's the big caveat. So let's put all this around the fact that all classes, all these people are highly skilled and they're going to do things right. Going from there, if you have the GCD to spare, so you put it on the affliction so that they can snapshot dots, and then you have a GCD somewhere in the fight to like put it back onto someone else who's going to benefit more from after the snap, right? They're not going to benefit that as much after the snap. Like once they snapshot their dots, it's better to put it on someone else. If you have that GCD free somewhere in the fight, then it's worth it to go that route. Otherwise, though, you're going to costing a GCD is going to be a lot of DPS. Just
is
even
there no
one
CD
GCD
on it?
No, it costs a GCD to use it.
There's
not a CD
on
to
it.
cast it to someone.
Like
it's just a buff.
right?
You could just think of it like a buff.
Oh, it just lasts on them forever.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's crazy because like I would think like it would be worthy of on trash, obviously putting it on someone very different than on bosses.
It also
right?
costs some money.
Mages are still critting a lot on trash though.
Yeah, 6% base mana. Well, right, but like if they were putting it on like an affliction lock at the beginning of a fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give it to another mage that has it on you?
Yeah.
Yes.
They even go like 3 mages where they would go and give like 1-to-1 and 1-to-1 and 1-to-1, which is normal on private servers. That's why we're having like you said, nobody
mages
knows.
together.
Yeah, like you said, nobody knows, and I'm not trying to fight the fact that it goes for mages.
Hunter.
No, that's the thing though. We don't know either. The other classes need to do some
other
work
classes.
as well.
If it goes based on how much you're critting, there's other classes that crit more than Arcane Mage. I feel like.
Okay, can we just agree
you
though?
might not be running a Destro lock, but those motherfuckers are critting more than a mage.
It's not. Hold on, it's not related to the crit chance itself. It's
related to how much you're critting, how often you're critting.
No, the DPS output
and what the crit does.
How beneficial it is for that class.
Okay.
Who's getting the most out of it? Right.
The actual DPS, not the crit.
So
because we get 100% basically, even in pre-raid. Almost every class has over 50% crit. That's not the question here. Basically, it's more so how much output they actually get from it in like a 2-minute sim, in a 3-minute sim.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, Mage gets like 180 to 200 and something. Arcane Mage specifically. How much does a Boomkin get? How much does each class get? And then from there we can decide which class gets it.
Yeah, there's not a graph yet.
No, we have to wait till
Because
all
the other
items are
sims
done.
aren't finished.
Yeah.
And I mean, the mage one, Osfel's doing the Lord's work, and he's still finding, some bugs. There's a lot of things to just work out, right? So I mean, it's not like slamming anyone's other classes sims or anything. It's just it's going to take a while. But the one thing is like, fire looks to be benefiting the most from crit right now, right? And we're going to be going fire in the future here, so it just kind of makes sense. Let's just let everyone get used to the fact they're not getting focus magic because they're not going to get it in the future. So that's just my 2 cents.
The hot streak is nice as fuck.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think we all agree though, just to like make a few people mad, it never goes to healers ever.
No,
absolutely not.
Oh, 100%.
Why would you?
Yep. Firm handshakes all around on that.
Somebody in chat was like,
Is that an actual argument?
Was that?
You never gear the healers, and you never give them buffs. Simple as that, I feel like.
They don't do any damage. Not worth.
Exactly. If you're not dying, it's fine.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah,
as bad
like
as
I
the
think this
focus
could be
magic
really
I thought it would be.
awesome to min max this with trash. I think that's a really cool ability. I haven't seen it utilized.
Yeah,
At
for
least
bosses
not
to
on any of my
trash.
classes, obviously, right? Because I'm not playing any casters. So it's really cool. It's really cool spell.
I like it. It's a good buff.
Yeah,
Is 6% base mana a crazy amount? Like, would
No,
you
it's
be
very
able?
low.
It's not
Yeah,
a lot.
okay.
It's still a bit, but the thing is, it resets your 5 seconds, right? If you're in the middle of some off time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you care about trash, you're probably not resetting it a lot, or like overall, like free GCD versus mana tick. But I mean, it sounds like a mage circle jerk on this, and trash is pretty good given that Blizzard benefits so much. But maybe there's another class that benefits more from crit AOE. I don't know. Maybe Boomkin. It's pretty feels crafty to do like complete raid. As
The 6%
separate
doesn't
from
Mage over
scale
Boomkin
with
on the AoE for
your
to be
intellect, right?
What?
Sorry, what?
Like a base. This is probably a question I should know for sure, but like the base mana like cost right there like doesn't scale.
Does
It's-
not.
It's
No,
base,
it's
so
base,
it's
yeah, yeah.
196 mana. That's so little mana. Like running out of a boss room, having like like 2 macros, obviously, because they're like that's not enough to I would think affect you negatively, especially with arcane mana pools when we have real mana pools, right?
It's going to delay your getting out of combat regen.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 second rule.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
So you're taking
that
away
makes
from
sense.
our mana. What do you think our answer is going to be on that then?
Bro, that could be a lot of damage. 3% crit.
I know, I'm joking. I'm
Yeah.
joking.
Well, it's just reassigning it at that point. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
we're
I
going
mean,
to
here's
refresh
the
it
thing,
if it
though,
falls
it's-
off.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're gonna be looking at the DPS difference between, you have it currently on a mage, all right, and then it's gonna go to who's it gonna go to that is gonna make up that? I mean, like it's so much better on trash, right? Obviously, once again here, I think player is gonna be a big thing. Player is going to
Player is going to be huge
because like we're talking from our standpoint, right? We're in guild where most everyone's on par, like on par and also on point, right? But for the majority of players, right, the skill differential is pretty big across their guild, right? For a lot of guilds, so just keep that in mind. It's like there's definitely going to be a player over class thing for who's going to benefit the most. So this is all like in a vacuum with everyone being the same player ability.
Slap your demo lock and have
curious,
them just
though,
pump trash, dude.
What AoE would be the best for it? Because I think honestly, I think it would be Mage still on AoE because you got everything's critting. You get the AE while they gather up, then you blow into blizzards. So it's like, yeah, we can seed crit, but I don't think that's going to smack out the blizzard crit. Maybe.
What?
Certainly
But, like,
fire.
all of
If it's fire, yeah.
Fire
Put it
for,
on.
I don't think there's an argument against fire at all because that makes sense.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
everything that goes, it makes sense. But early in phase 1, I don't know. I don't know. That wasn't me challenging. I literally don't know.
Yeah.
Skip focus magic
I'm
and
intrigued.
get arcane barrage. There you go.
I like it. I think there's gonna be some really cool ways to min max that, and I think that's a really exciting ability in my head. Yeah.
What about an Innervate talk while we're here?
I mean, nobody else needs Innervate in the raid, really, right?
Yeah, Boomy does. If you're holding W.
It
If you're holding
depends.
W. If you're holding W.
Sorry, nobody important needs
It
Innervate in
depends
the
on the
raid.
raid
You see those
composition.
logs?
I
I'm
will
pumping.
say.
Nice try.
I will say.
Boomy
I
slap.
have seen clips of private server guys that play Enhanced Shaman saying, if you don't give me Innervate and you give me an Arcane Mage, I'm G quitting.
Oh my god.
For what it's worth. Even though they have
Shamanistic
Shamanistic raid to top
rage.
on mana all day,
They are slapping though. They are pumping though.
they do be pumping.
I feel like if you're running short,
a
if you're
3-minute cooldown,
holding
too.
W, yes, the Boomy needs it, but at the same time, if you're short healers, like you're probably going to be doing, I think I can see healers getting Innervates. I can see single target mages. Like if you have time to sit there like a proper raid, like you're not holding W, we're pre-potting, we're doing our normal pool, then a mage. Like I don't know, unless you're running short healers, like I said, but usually if you're doing
It
a
really
normal
depends
run,
on raid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends on too much.
I can definitely see healers. If they die, suddenly they get res, they're going to need that Innervate. And just like you're trying to cut healers as much as you can, right? Like talks about, doing a 2 healer run max, right? Then they're probably going to need it. And also healers are still, just looking at logs, like there's definitely healers still learning ther classes, right? So there's definitely min-maxing their optimal usage. Misuse of mana, yeah. And so, and then also with the way the beta is. What's that?
I was just saying, raids as a whole are taking extra damage that is not currently needed just from learning experience. And as you get into proper raids are going to take less damage just from knowing what to do and how to operate in each part. So the healer's mana is going to be a lot more predictable and easy to manage.
Yeah, it depends on what you're min-maxing for, right? Are you min-maxing for safety and making sure a boss dies, or are you min-maxing for like pump and like willing to risk it all for the number? And if you're more on the latter side, it's always DPS, get the cooldown, probably the mage. And if you're more on the other side, it's maybe save it for the emergency because someone might die. I don't know.
Yeah, I also think this is like going to happen. Is there be a fight where you need a healer? And after that fight, you don't need that healer anymore. So when they respec DPS, you probably give them the Innervate, right? Like I'm thinking you start patchwork or something.
But it's a 3-minute cooldown. So
yeah, as soon as patchwork's done, boom, you hit that guy who's just respec, and you're like, okay, we're on our way.
And I mean, you probably have a boomkin, maybe a Resto Druid. It depends on the healer profile. You probably have a Feral because Fury Warrior is bad. Sorry.
We're all in agreement on that one. It's okay.
We're like 2 to 4 Innervate zone, and it's like 3-minute cooldown. So I mean, there should be enough Innervates to go around for the limited people that actually legitimately have mana issues.
They're going to run like 1 to 2 mages.
With the tier 3 2-piece, like, can't you do really well every time you're out of combat with evocation? Right? You said it was 1 minute.
Yeah, we didn't talk
what's the
about
exact
that.
second? Yeah, let's touch on that.
What's it called?
You can also use
Frostfire, I believe.
Yeah, Frostfire set,
original,
and then there's also the tier 6 set, right? So the tier 6 2-piece is that it gives you an extra tick on your evocate. So right there, so your evocate is going to restore 60% with 4 ticks. That extra tick is an extra 50% then, so 75%. So you can toss on, if you have the Sunwell gear, right? You can toss on your tier 6 2-piece out of combat, and then also a tier 3 2-piece, and that reduces, tier 3 2-piece reduces your evocation by the cooldown by 1 minute, so it goes from 2 to 1 then. The evocation is only 2 minutes. I might have misspoke earlier when I said if I said evocation was 2 minutes, that's only as Arcane build. It's 4 minutes otherwise. So it's going to change from 8 to 4. Yeah. So it's still a minute off, even if you're like Fire or Frost. That it would you toss on that tier 3 2-piece, and then it's 3 minute, and then for Arcane 1 minute, which is pretty big. The only thing is you definitely don't want to get. What's that take?
There's a weak aura that can do that entirely with item rack for you that the mage discords made as well.
I think I have that up.
That's
somewhere.
amazing. See, that's every mage
just
should
like
be doing
it
that.
handles the hot swap. But one thing to note about tier 3, you can always get tier 6 in like Sunwell farm runs in pre-patch or later. But I don't know if it goes away. I'm pretty sure Nax OG goes away on pre-patch. So if you don't have your tier 3 2-base or you're rolling mage later, it's just gone and you cannot get this thing anymore. So if there's one thing, it's getting a jump at the gun a bit on like things you want to get right now. But like this is time gated and like pretty time sensitive if you want to really min-max your evocates and get a 50% cooldown reduction as Arcane on evocate on trash. You need
the thing is, I don't know
what is the set
how huge it'll necessarily be.
Like if you combat drops, I guess.
Because the combat drops are going to be tough to come around, and then also that means you're probably going to get stuck in combat with your tier 3 and tier 6.
On,
And I feel like I don't know how much you actually will need it. You know, like 2 minutes is pretty good. You can pump for 2 minutes. It depends, right?
What is
Frostfire?
It's the actual tier 3, not the tier 7 remake.
I don't know what that is.
Normal Frostfire. Actual
Frostfire Regalia.
Without heroes.
Yeah.
Frostfire Regalia.
Not Valorous.
There's a thing about how you're pulling trash, if you're like aggressively pulling trash with pre-potting, is that your potion cooldown doesn't get triggered until you exit combat. So people in complete raid runs might actually try to more elegantly plan big pulls with actual combat drops instead of chaining combat to get repeated potion cooldowns. So you probably actually will get the chance, but we don't really know.
But then it'll probably go right into combat though. Right. You'll probably go right into combat though, and you'll have that gear.
Yeah, while you're doing
depending on
evocate,
the next pull, right? And so I don't know. I guess I just want to say like everyone's, if they're watching it right now, they haven't already known about this. Most people in the Mage Discord and whatnot have known, and you're panicking like, oh, I got to get into an axe and I got to get this. It's like, if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world, especially if you're not like speed running. And most of the people who are in a speed running guild already know about this. So for everyone else, like don't panic. But yeah, Nax is going to be going away. So if you do want it, get in there.
It'd be nice for GDKPs because you're not like aggressively chain pulling usually in GDKPs. So like staying at full mana, especially if it was like a, what's it called? Like performance based would actually add up.
Good Lord, performance based GDKP. I think you have more problems than not having T3 if you're in one of those. Holy shit.
I haven't been in one of those in a long time, but I think people still do them. I think.
Really?
I've seen like
I totally don't run one of them.
Salad Beggars doesn't do it?
Oh my god.
No way.
No, dude.
Yeah, just about the negatives though, like yes, it has a lot of benefits, but if you can get stuck with ideally the bracers and the ring in combat, but also like as we get 25 people engineering and you get rocket boots, people are gonna just keep going and going and going. If you stay behind and use evocate on every minute, you're gonna start staying behind. So yes, it's good, but at the same time, you might not be able to keep pace if you're trying to use it every single time. So
Yeah,
it's
that
very
makes
situational.
sense. Yeah, that is actually a really good point, because in speedruns, everyone is going to be required engineer, and engineering is so strong in Wrath. It's so strong forever.
I love engineering.
Yeah.
I really think just that combat drop planning remains to be seen, and again depends on like the raid having stuff planned out. If you like can't depend on pacing of stuff, then maybe it has questionable value, but it is pretty like minimal at best, and it's a huge disaster if you get caught in combat with this 2-piece. So
yeah,
beautiful. All right, what about that good old you want to start the fire talk? Who's going on the fire talk? I guess talk about, I don't know how you guys do this one. Win? I don't know. You want to go over the spec, or send me a spec for you if you can. Real quick.
maybe
Probably go over the spec
yeah, I
first.
see it. I see it. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously the question everybody wants to know is when.
I'll let the other gentleman have the floor explain the new stuff with fire.
I can just talk about the one. No, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, Philippe, go for it, man. Yeah.
Okay, I was just gonna say.
I was literally gonna be bringing up your guide and going over, because you like list all the things right there. So it's nice for me to like make sure I get like the freaking tooltip correct.
Oh, you want to go over fire first? Go ahead. No, I was gonna start talking about when to go fire.
Oh yeah, I was thinking maybe go over the spec first,
want.
but however you want to do it, Crix. I mean.
Yeah, explain that first.
Okay, so I mean the spec change now. It's not just casting Fireball. Now when you cast Fireball, you'll have an ability called Hot Streak, and anytime you score 2 non-periodic spell criticals, so don't think your Living Bomb dot ticks, just non-periodic. So using Fireball, Fire Blast, Scorch, Living Bomb, or Frostfire Bolt, you'll then have a 100% chance that the next Pyroblast spell cast within 10 seconds will be instant cast. So you get two crits in a row with everything except basically Pyroblast, you could think. And you get a Hot Streak, you get a instant cast Pyroblast, and then we also get Living Bomb. The target becomes a Living Bomb. They take damage over time. After 12 seconds, if the spell is dispelled, then the target explodes, dealing fire damage to all enemies within 10 yards. And note on that, it's not like Seed. If the target dies before that 12 seconds is up, then Living Bomb doesn't explode. So that's something very key to keep in mind with your play style for fire play style. And the big thing there is that the like kind of strengths of fire compared to Arcane, it might suffer right now in pre-bis and phase 1 bis in terms of because of the short fights, mainly because of the short fights, and when it comes to phase 1 bis, that it might suffer on single target some. But if there's ever any cleave in that fight, multiple targets, you can then multi-target those. With those multiple targets, you can put Living Bomb on each of them, and then you get the Living Bomb Explosion Cleave, and then that Explosion Cleave also gives you more Hot Streak procs. So anytime there's any kind of cleave, fire is going to, in general, perform better, all things being equal between Arcane and fire. And also, or it's just going to be, that's going to be a strength for fire, I should say. It's going to be a strength. And also, anytime there's a lot of movement, because you have Living Bomb, which is an instant cast. You have the instant cast Pyroblast. So you have a lot more times that you can move without affecting your DPS at all, while Arcane doesn't have that at all. Right?
Look how cool it looks. So, it literally sets them on fire. Like you actually see them on fire. It's so cool.
Yeah, and it's just, there's a lot of fun stuff. And also the other big thing for like overall trash damage that we have, because a lot of things kind of just stay the same when you look at the talents, or at least they change some, but like it's nothing like big to focus on. The other big thing is Firestarter. So the way Firestarter works, you pick up Blast Wave in the talent tree. I think everyone remembers Blast Wave. It's always been around. Also, there's Dragon's Breath from TBC, right? And Firestarter branches off of Dragon's Breath. So you pick up Dragon's Breath and also you get Firestarter, and it makes your damaging Blast Wave and Dragon's Breath spells have it's 2 points. If you put 2 points in there, then it's 100% chance to make your next Flame Strike spell instant cast and also cast no mana. So you can blast wave, then you do an instant cast flame strike from the fire starter proc, then you dragon's breath, and then you can do that flame strike again. And if those mobs are going to last there for a while in that one spot, then you can do rank 9 for the first flame strike and rank 8 for the second flame strike, so that you get separate ground dots that are ticking across everything, because those ground dots aren't AoE capped. So if there's a lot of mobs and they're going to last for a while there, you know, maybe they have a lot of health, which is not the case in Nax, but let's just assume, right? Then you'd want to use 2 different ranks, and that's going to do a ton of damage. So ideally, for like AoE, you want to be with the tank. Well, should we go right into like kind of play style?
Yeah, I don't know. Do whatever you guys want to go.
I mean, okay, so and then I can toss it off to Tig, so I'm not just the only one talking. But like when you're running with the mobs, you want to be like with the tank, and depending with your raid, if it trusts you and you talk to the tank ahead of time, you'd also want to be pulling for the tank really with your living bomb. That way, because you want to make sure like Nax trash dies really fast. You want to make sure that the mob is going to be around for 12 seconds so that living bomb explodes. And if you're up front with the tank, then you're going to be able to cast that living bomb as the mobs are coming in, get off a few of them. Then let's say it's a gigapull, you mirror image so that you're not going to get any generate any, or you're not going to get any aggro from the mobs. Blast wave, flame strike, dragon's breath, flame strike, blizzard on top of that while everything's ticking. The living bombs start going off, and then as the living bombs explode and they start giving you those hot streak procs, you can do instant cast pyroblast on the higher health mobs that need to be finished off, and it's going to beat Arcane. It's going to be the highest AoE of all the specs.
How often?
It's pretty insane, and it's a lot of fun. It's really fun.
How often on pulls are you finding that you are able to get the living bomb off? Because as we move faster, especially, I mean, in Nax, that's going to be the challenge. I think in Ulduar it'll be a lot easier, and in ICC it'll be a lot easier. But in Nax, if things die too fast, obviously because of that 12-second time to get living bomb off, how often did you find yourself able to get those to pop? Really?
There's certainly some places where you can, right? And especially the places when your tanks are going to do giga pulls, right? Because it's taking time to get a lot of stuff in. And especially if they're bringing it in from different areas, then you do have the time to get some living bombs off. The key is to like what I need to do now before next raids open up on the weekend is do a VOD review and look at, okay, what are the exact pulls that you actually can get the living bombs off? And because there's definitely times like that those logs are not optimized at all, right? I haven't done a lot of times I'd be casting living bomb just to test out or whatever, and they would die beforehand, and that entire time I could have been blizzarding, right? So that damage could be way higher. Yeah, it's definitely DPS loss.
It makes me think of that one pull in Next that the mages soloed with the slimes. If it's possible to still run through and just have one fire mage solo the whole thing with living bomb.
Yeah, me and
Box
the raid just keeps going
forward.
Yeah, because like everyone wiped fun. And me and him invised and lived from patchwork, and then we were running back, and I was an idiot, and I forgot the slimes respawn, and so we accidentally pulled those, but me and him just soloed them because you just have living bomb and it goes off. It's awesome. Living bomb cleave is insane, and the thing is though, as the phase progresses and damage gets more insane, and the thing is right now we don't have sappers, right? The one thing is though, like on the beta, it's also been AoE cap of 20, so that's going to slow down some of the, so that'll help us. But at the same time, on live, we're going to have better gear, and then also we're going to have sappers and stuff. So it remains to be seen. And obviously, as people have like phase 1 bis and everything, things are probably going to die really fast. But at the same time, if we're just holding W, things die a lot slower when you're holding W and you're not stopping to let everyone just get their seeds off and DPS and everything like that. So that's also going to play into it, whether living bomb will be better. So it kind of all remains to be seen in a way. But I think there's definitely places where you can get the living bombs off, and any bosses, that's where fire has a definite advantage. We can talk about Ulduar after, I don't know what Tig wants to talk about or whatever, but like, and when I guess I'll touch on Ulduar when we talk about when to go fire.
I think a lot of things.
So Tig, if you want to talk about single,
was me trying to finding the big. You know how there's a lot of the packs. Let's say there's a 10 pack. 4 of them are big elites, and the other 6 die off of like 1 seed or a couple explosions. It's making sure you're not mousing over and living bombs those guys. You're trying to living bomb the ones a little bit ahead that are elites, get those ones off in time while you try to creep up. That's why I like living bomb so much, because you can literally just move around the whole time. Like you're running up at the thing, and you're trying to spam on anything that you can spam on until you finally catch up to everything. You know what I mean? A lot of my mistakes were trying to fucking try to get it off, and I would do it on a mob that didn't last more than fucking 5 seconds.
Yeah, if there's a mob that warriors would have sundered in classic, you living bomb that.
There you go. That's
I like the idea.
That's a good call.
That's the way I try to think about it. In my runs in Nax, I tried to like figure out what the sweet spot was. I'll probably have to go back like to figure out exactly where I messed up, because I definitely did in a few points. But a lot of the time you're probably just gonna end up going in and maybe casting one living bomb, if at all, on some of these smaller packs, and just blast wave Firestarter, Dragon's Breath Firestarter, and just keep going. And like maybe even hit Arcane Explosion just to keep W keying through it if it's really that quickly like being cleared. But on those huge snap pulls, or the ones where you know it's going to take 12 seconds or more, then you can do this more long form like living bomb rolling into like the blizzarding and flame striking and all that. But it's going to be hard to get like flame strike value outside of Firestarter and living bomb on some of these quicker trash packs and Nax.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like you could precast. I would pretty much say it's never going to work out for like precasting flame strike. Like I don't think you were necessarily saying that, but like you touched on that at the end there, like how you don't think like hard casting flame. Like I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Like, ideally, you could precast it if you know exactly where the mobs are going to go to, but you're probably just better off living bombing as
even in
as
TBC,
they come
that
in.
wasn't ever a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just doesn't really ever. It's not realistic. But what you touched on there was great. Is that it's a good point that like a lot of times they don't last long enough. Like they're going to die pretty much right after your second flame strike. So you maybe just want to do an Arcane Explosion, and that second flame strike you don't do as rank 8 then, right? You just do two rank 9 flame strikes, because the dot's really not gonna.
You can even save Firestarter to go into the next pack. So if you like finish something off with a blast wave, you can go Firestarter in the next pack. There's a lot of like ways to chain and like space out the cooldowns. You can also just make sure that because flame strike dots of the same rank don't stack, you might not want to flame strike twice on the same pull. So you do like one pull as a Dragon's Breath into Firestarter, the next one's blast wave into Firestarter, etc. There's like stuff to be figured out there for sure.
What how long is the Firestarter buff?
10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, so not very long. I mean, I guess it is long enough to make it to the next pack, but it's
You can what he means by saving is saving the Dragon's Breath while using only the blast wave on the first pack. So he uses only the blast wave and then uses flame strike, and then he saves the Dragon's Breath instead of using it on that pack, and uses the Dragon's Breath on the next pack to get another flame strike instant.
Yeah.
And you have Molten Fury as a talent as well. You might lose some ignite damage off of Dragon's Breath or Blast Wave, but it's not the worst thing if there's still a bunch of mobs up. Like once they hit around that execute threshold, to just hit a massive Blast Wave or Dragon's Breath, and then if you know you're going to be pulling within 10 seconds, save the Flame Strike. So there can be like some foresight with like little mechanics like that. I think one thing I might bring up as well is that mana is generally less of an issue because of the talent Empowered Fire. Every time your ignite ticks, I believe, you get base mana % back. This is why the Utgard keep farm kind of works, but we'll get to that later. And then Combustion also gives you 50% crit damage bonus while it's active. So you want to make sure you're using it with your big boy crits. It's not just the usual like increasing crit chance and only 3 crits total. It just has that extra modifier of damage.
Yeah, while also talking about talents, every private server spec took 2 points in Firestarter, which gives 100% to get the instant cast flame strikes. But what we found is that just taking 1 point and having 50% on each target that it applies is basically 100% on every AoE pull. Because I think in private servers it was probably like 50% on cast instead of being on each target that the Dragon's Breath and Blast Wave hits.
That's
so just take 1
that.
point there. Yeah. So the spec becomes a little bit more flexible. Because
definitely as fire, I think you definitely just want to go that route because like it's harder to give up points. But as Frostfire, I liked having the 2 points so that even if it's like a 3 or 4 mob pull, I'm gonna be able to blast wave and get that free flame strike. So I mean, it just kind of comes down to like personal preference, how your raids are doing pulls, and what points in your talents you want to give up. So like for me, I was giving up Scorch, and I feel like, well, I'm not going to Scorch anyways. So that's another mage's job or a warlock's job. So like whatever, it wasn't a big deal to get 2 points of Firestarter.
That's the point. We don't have to do that anymore because it's the same buff slot as Improved Shadow Bolt, the increased crit chance to target. I believe is what it does. 5% crit to target, and it doesn't stack. The only situation in which you'll need that talent is usually just 10 mans and dungeons if you really care about 5% crit on a single target when stuff's melting already anyway. But in a like warlock list 10 man, that's when Improved Scorch matters at all. Warlocks will handle it otherwise.
Or if warlocks, like if people die, like in the raid and you have improved scorch, it's
Yes.
good. It's smart to be like on
All
top
your
of that and
warlocks.
like start scorching. But it'd take all of them dying, right? Because like even in execute phase, there's still going to be some that are shadow bolting, right, Crix?
Who's gonna tell Krat that the scorch talent gives him crit? Says Deary.
No, you take it, you just won't cast it.
Yeah, he's just trolling him.
Yeah.
I don't think I really know though.
Does Firestarter have to hit mobs to get
I
the
may
buff?
have given up a point
Sorry,
of
what
scorch
did you
for that.
say?
Yeah.
Does Firestarter have to deal damage to get the buff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's your
Yeah, it's
damaging
on each
spells.
target.
Okay, so is there like a thing where if I'm running by a fucking rat, I can hit the rat with my blast wave,
Yes.
run into the pole, do the first flame strike, then do dragon's breath first on the rat, run in, flame strike, use my blast wave, flame strike, and then dragon's breath should be about 5 seconds away from cooldown. That comes back up, dragon's breath, flame strike. So you could get 3 flame strikes in a span where you would only get 2.
You could only do that with like dragon's. You could only do that with dragon's breath.
Yeah, with dragon's breath.
Because like blast wave is too long of a cooldown. It's 30,
It's 30 seconds
cooldown.
versus the 20, right?
Right.
Well, it's reduced by
so
it's reduced by the glyph, which you would take.
That's true, but I don't think that's ever going to work out for a Nax pull. But maybe you could 5-head it.
Mecha says, "Is this spec?" I don't know, Mecha. This is your guys' shit. He says, "Is this a PvP spec? No Molten Fury, playing
Yeah,
Fire, has
this
impact,
one-
no Empire Blast."
This one has impact, and pretty much you could put all those points into. I think it's Pyromanic or playing with fire. For
You're
sure.
in a leveling guide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
impact
Oh,
sounds
me.
pretty nice for leveling it. Yeah,
I
does the
think
3%
it is.
damage compared
There
to
you go.
stun, which is never going to be
Oh, which
really relevant.
another question that someone says is what's the difference when you would take TTW versus Icy Veins
There you
for
go.
Frostfire? Or for Fire?
Well, Frostfire, to my understanding,
Icy Fire,
does Icy Veins, and Fire does TTW.
Okay.
Generally speaking. So Frostfire Bolts versus Fireball, and Frostfire Bolts, I guess we can talk about that a little bit. It's very similar gameplay, just as bread and butter skill and slight talent differential. You get Icy Veins, you sub-spec into Frost instead of Fire, you lose Torment the Weak, etc., and you get actually the 3% hit talents, you get the Blizzard crits, you get Icy Veins, and your bread and butter skill is Frostfire Bolt, and it has a lower hit cap because of that, so it's like less gear dependent. And I guess I would let Felipe, who's simmed it more than me, tell you whether or not it's better to do one
Bathroom
versus
real quick,
the other early on.
I mean, in pre-raid and phase 1 base, Frostfire is a little bit better just because of the hit. Like, hit is very lacking for Fire in phase 1. Because of what Cyrene said earlier, you have to get 17% hit without any help from talents with a normal Fire TTW spec, except for the debuff from either Shadow Priest or Boomkin. So what Frostfire Bolt spec allows is 3% off, so you only need 14% instead, and that allows for a lot more offensive stats in your gear. So the main DPS difference doesn't come from the spec itself, it comes from the gear that opens up in possibilities.
And gems, right?
Yeah, gems, but that's also accounted for.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
in pre-raid base and even in phase 1, you have to gem mostly hit as Fire if you're taking TTW. As Frostfire, you can actually gem offensively with haste and spell power and whatnot.
Does it change your rotation? Is it more fun to play, or is it very
It's
simple?
the exact same, you just use a different spell.
Yeah.
So instead of using Fireball, you just use Frostfire Ball.
You get Icy Veins, so you get to pop cooldown, and you don't get people yelling at you about focus magic, so...
Worth it.
Yeah, you also lose Focus Magic, that's another thing.
But
That's
the
true,
3-point, I think it's spell impact. It's a pretty big deal. It's like 6% damage on AE, AB, Blast Wave, Fire Blast, Scorch, Fireball, Ice Lance, and Cone of Gold. You lose that talent, which I think is actually pretty good, and clear casting, which, as before mentioned, is very valuable in a complete raid setting. But it can be pretty bursty, I believe, with the Icy Veins.
Yeah. And even though it does lose clear casting, which is some mana help there, it gains so in the actual Frost tree there's some mana support there from Frost channeling. So that's something as well. So
Yeah,
I think we get 2 points, so that's like 8% reduced cost of Frostfire Bolt.
That's the chart you
So
get.
Yeah, this is also probably a good time to bring up the Ignite munching and how Frostfire Bolt travels at a different speed. So you can
Munching.
Ignite munching. So if you have 2 crits that happen at basically the exact same timestamp in the logs, the earlier one will get munched. Or like if you had a living bomb explode and crit at the exact same time, like a fireball crits, right?
Is this intended behavior?
Munch. Go on.
Who knows the intention, man?
I don't know if we know about intended behavior, but it was in there. It needs to be fixed. That's what I'm going to say. It needs to be fixed. Because here's the thing. Here's what the Mage Discord just recently found out is that you can add in CQS to a macro for your Pyroblast and delay that Pyroblast by just a tiny amount. So even if you just did like 40 milliseconds, let's just say, because we think it's by the tick rate of the server. So you're thinking even just 40 milliseconds. It just needs to be at a different timestamp in the log. Then you're not going to have Ignite munching. So that's basically forcing us to Pyroblast. Add a Pyroblast macro that has /CQS to not have spell queuing, so that it's delayed just a tiny bit to get around the fact that ignites are munched, which I doubt was intended, right? So and the thing is, because like there's some weird interactions there that they found out with Frostfire Bolt. Even if it is on the same timestamp, it hardly gets munched. Like the munching hardly ever occurs. It seems to just mainly happen with Fireball on the same timestamp as Pyroblast. It still can with Frostfire, but it doesn't even it doesn't happen nearly as often. I think Ostival was doing testing 15 Frostfire crits at the exact same time as Pyroblast, same timestamp in the log, and only 3 of them ended up with Ignite munching. So there's something that makes Frostfire special, and something with but I mean, either way, it's like there's some spaghetti coding that's causing this, that it should be something fixed, and we can get around it by doing a /CQS macro, but that's really dumb that we have to be delaying our pyro just to get around to Ignite munching. And it costs us right in phase 1 BIS, the calculation is about 2.5% of our damage, and by tier 10 ICC time, we're talking 10% of our damage is going away because of Ignite munching.
That's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really, really dumb. So
that scripting wasn't like that on any of the non-Blizzard realms?
They fixed it in Kata.
Okay.
So that's why we don't think this is intended. They fixed it in Kata. So we're in retail client time now, so why can't it get fixed now, right?
Yeah.
That's our thinking. So I think Yerpal, someone put in a detailed description of it to the developer GitHub, and hopefully they're tracking, and we'll see. But for right now, I guess the PSA is have a Pyroblast macro with /CQS in there, so and to avoid Ignite munching.
Ashi says it's 3 out of 15 with Fireball and CQS. Fireball had 0% munching.
Or that's what it was. Okay,
so
all right,
like
I misread
20%.
I skimmed it quick. Gotcha.
Yeah, the cancel Q casting, it still has a negative impact on our DPS, even though it fixes somewhat the munching itself. So instead of losing the full 2 point something up to 10% of the damage, we lose the gap between the actual Q cast and the next cast. So it's still some
adding
DPS
micro
loss
gaps in.
Yeah, it's uptime loss. So
and the uptime loss percentage wise, do you know how that translates versus the?
It would depend on the actual gap itself, which depends on the player's ping. So it's hard to know just as a general statement. Like personally, I play with like 100 ping and a shitty PC, so like without Q casting, I have sometimes like full 1 second gaps in between some of my casts when I'm lagging.
Yeah.
So for me it would be horrible. For other players with like proper like full working PCs, insane internet, that would just barely be any difference. Maybe it's hard to know.
That's really
Just
intriguing.
depends on the player.
I would be screwed playing NA over on EU.
What do you think the viability of going fire in phase 1 is early? If people I know people just want to go fire, can they just go fire? Are you hard suggesting Arcane, or is there?
We said something with Frost, where Frost is like it's fine. It depends on how competitive you're trying to be. Like it's not like it's absolutely griefing on damage, right? Like Arcane is undisputed king of single target and probably overall, I would say. But Fire and Frostfire are not so far behind that you're maybe as trolling as you are going Frost. It really depends on the competitive nature of your raid, how quickly you're killing stuff. Like generally speaking, the #1 rule is just mage specking, mage damage, mage gearing. Everything mage is it's specific to your raid, your support, your DPS, the sequence of the pulls, everything specific to you. So it's hard to totally recommend one over the other, but it's probably fine. I think the general take is that Arcane is probably better, though.
Yeah, fights are just so short, and Nax, they're only going to get shorter as the phase goes on. So, like pre-bis, it's going to be better to be Arcane, and then as it goes on, it's just going to be it's going to help Arcane more.
Stronger and stronger, yeah.
That the thing is, though, if you look at that, you know, he had the graph pulled up there, right? So at like the 3-minute mark in phase 1 bis, you're looking at Fire evening out with Arcane. Now, granted, if Arcane has an Innervate, which ideally it should, if you're min-maxing, then it's still ahead. But you have to think about this in the context of Alduar, right? I mean, if you're speedrunning, right, you're gonna have an Arcane set, and you're gonna pump Arcane, right? But you're gonna do whatever is currently best in the phase. But I think the eye should be on the prize of Alduar and Alduar hard modes, and some of the hardest fights in there are definitely going to benefit, or Fire is going to benefit more on those.
Hodir, baby.
Hodir,
No.
Freya. Well, Hodir is not necessarily going to be hard, and I think Arcane will still actually pump. I was thinking about it. Just because it's a shorter fight, it's right. It's gonna be under 3 minutes.
Probably.
Has to be under, but yeah, exactly. But it's still gonna help, right? If it helps you get that one shot on it, that's pretty big on launch. Whenever the launch race happens, and then Freya is a harder fight. Firefighter, one of the hardest fights. Yogg 0. These all are definitely going to benefit Fire from also just the movement involved in those fights, and also the cleave. So, I mean, you're going to definitely want to have, even if you're not planning to go Fire permanently, you really like Arcane, whatever it may be, you're going to want to have a Fire set for Alduar so that you can go those specs for that fight to help out your guild, I would think. Now, the only caveat to that also is, a lot of caveats I know, but is it's a lot easier to gear phase 1 bis for Arcane than it is for Fire. So there's a lot more pieces in Fire that are contested among all the classes as opposed to Arcane. And so you're probably also you have to take into account what you can realistically get in as Fire in your guild as opposed to Arcane. And because then that can actually make Arcane still be the same as DPS as Fire, even on those fights possibly. So as always, as we always say, right, sim it. But for when we go Fire, I think assuming you can get the Fire gear, like the gear is equal between the specs, I think you're going to go Fire in Alduar for at least those fights to help out your guild. I don't, other fights, I don't know, but they don't matter nearly as much, right? It's those fights. I think Freya and Firefighter and Yogg 0 that that are really gonna test your guild.
These random like the Iron Council buffs, the damage buffs, Malgo, Spores, Thaddeus, does that help Fire out more than it helps Arcane?
Yeah, so like that was one where I want to say the crit damage from like, oh, you're talking, you didn't say Hodir there, you said
to add anything with damage. I'm just anything with the little the bonuses of damage. Does that help your Arcane more or your Fire more?
I don't know, to be honest, because like with CD stacking, maybe Arcane is going to be.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, well, right. Oh, just the crit, probably Fire more. Yeah, I mean, Fire's going to benefit more. Yeah.
Cool. What about you just mentioned, and you were talking about it quite a bit, but this is skipping forward a little bit, but gearing and optimization for the two different specs. What are like some of the stats? You're saying that Arcane is a lot easier to gear because it doesn't share as many gear bis pieces with other classes. Mm-hmm. Does that stay consistent throughout? And what are like some of the stats you're kind of looking for between the two specs?
You can just go into gearing and optimization from here, by the way. We can skip ahead a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
I can talk about the gear differences there. And so for Fire and Frost, if you want to talk about that, but for Fire mostly, you need a lot more hit, and that requires specific items such as, for example, in phase 1, the leggings of Wanton, boots of Impetuous Ideals, just items with a lot more hit built in, so you don't have to gem it as well. But having to take those items, then those items are a lot more competitive with Warlocks, for example. You need a lot of hit as well. While Arcane can take more offensive items without any hit, and just in general, the gear that Arcane takes is a lot less contested.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about pre-raid bis or just raid bis, like routes to optimal gearing versus like shared itemization, Felipe? I know you have like
they're both up right now, so I have pre-bis on the left side, phase 1 on the right side. You guys can just take it away.
Yeah, in pre-raid, like the goal is just go for 4-piece tier 7 as soon as possible. You can get 2-piece the chest and the gloves from heroism badges, so just doing dungeons, just doing dailies, you can get that super easily. That's like the main go-to. You get your SCB proc from it as well. And then from Valor, you can get the 25-man shoulders and legs as well. And that comes from dailies as well, I believe, and then from raids. So you want to get that as soon as possible. And just through getting that, then you basically have a full 5 set already combined. You can get the engineering head, which you're going to want to be engineering regardless. So you just get the engineering head, which is better than anything else from pre-raid, and better than a lot of the raid options as well. Trinkets, very simple. Go for the most part, go for Mark, has a shit ton of hit. Mark of the War Prisoner, it has good proc that you can have control over. If you're good with those sort of procs, you can make it work very well. If you're not, like Tigward said earlier, passive trinkets are usually better. So Sundial, always very good. Also edges. The weapon is a weird one. A lot of the pre-raid sets from private servers always went with a crafted weapon. What's it called? I can just...
The scalpel one?
Titan Steel Spellblade, anyone?
The Titan Steel Spellblade is the crafted one.
The Titan Steel, and that's going to be extremely expensive, like probably upwards of 10k, maybe more. But it doesn't even perform as well. This has less hit, so you have to make up that hit, I swear. But this has way better overall stats and performs better. The other option I would recommend is just the Reputation from Kiritor sword. That has the same amount of hit as the Titan Steel one. And that's pretty good as well. But either get this from Heroic or get the not the Titan Steel, the Kiritor Reputation sword. I think it's the Scalpel. And
those boots are Wormrest Accord too, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
The belt is from Badges as well. The neck is from 10-man necks, but it's a BOE, so you can just buy it. And I don't think it'll be as expensive as the Beast boots, which are from 25-man, they're also BOE. But the neck is easy to replace. There's a badge neck that you can just buy for 25 badges, and it has a similar amount of hit. So that's pretty easy too. For the shoulders, the only item from Sunwell that's still pre-raid base, it's the Amis of the Convoker shoulders. And those are as good as the BOE ones that are in this list. So that's legit the only item from TBC that's pre-raid for Arcane and for Fire and for Frost. The leggings from Brutalis that were insanely overhyped are just worse than the pre-raid ones. Same shit for everything else. The Tunwell gear is just not that great compared to the alternatives. Like the tier 6 boots, bracers, and belt is okay if you get a 2-piece and you don't have like a really good item on anything else. But overall, you just go for the badge stuff, you just go for the reputation stuff, and you'll be sorted. You go for the 4-piece tier 7 that's super easy to get, and the engineering head, and you're sorted for pre-raid. The raids are easy regardless. Go ahead.
If you had to recommend, like, what tabard would you use immediately 80 to like grind the reps in the order, and like what are your dungeons that you're hitting up regularly? Like I see Violet Hold Trinket, I see Oculus Staff, and I think Bracers. It's the one from I think Ancanet, the wand. Mm-hmm. Halls of Lightning Legs.
The wand is very close with the other option, and that's what is very close with the 2 Sunwell ones as well, because the new updated gems the wands can get. So both the healing one and the caster one it's like almost as good as this one. So if you have that, just stick with that. Otherwise, just hit the dungeons, the heroics. You can only do them once a day. You can do them all if you no life it anyways. If you care about optimizing pre-raid this much, you're no lifing it anyways. So you're just gonna do them all. I feel like to get the badges as well.
Yeah, otherwise, obviously, the Heroic Daily, get your 2 Valor tokens, and then from there, just each of these pieces that you can. And then for the Reputation, you're going to obviously want Kirin Tor, and then there's, what's the other one from here,
Wormrest Accord.
Yeah, you want the Ancient from Kirin Tor as well, so you want to get that
and
going.
Sons of Hodier as well. Don't you want to tabard Sons of Hodier generally? Or it's not tabarding, it's you attribute some daily quests to them. Yeah.
Just the dailies.
Because that's your best shoulder enchant. It's the new like Elder Squire stuff.
All right, here you go. You ready for this? Name your top 3 things to look at a phase 1 for your gear. If you had to make a loot list Your top 3 items from max or from tier 7, what is it?
For phase 1, I would say Dying Curse. Turning Tide, yeah. Dying
Turning
Curse
Tide, Dying Curse, the 2 biggest.
Third?
Everything else is just replaceable, I feel like.
Third, I guess maybe Pennant Cloak.
Yeah, I think
go for
Pennant
the hat
Cloak,
trick of
probably.
Pennant Cloak is like huge, if I remember right. It's like
most contested items.
Yeah, they're the most contested, but also like Pennant Cloak compared to Disguise. Disguise is pretty good, but it's still a like 300 DPS difference between Pennant Cloak and Disguise. It's massive.
Huge.
Yeah, the thing with weapons with Turning Tide, I guess we just recommend it, but there is a number of other weapons you could go with that they're not close to Turning Tide because Turning Tide is just so good, but there's other weapons. There's like so many different weapons, right, from Nax, and that's kind of like the big message I think we would want to put out here. At least I know me and Philippe, I haven't talked to Tigward about it, but is that there's so many like not necessarily side grade, but just like near bis pieces or just decent pieces for each slot in Nax or for most of the slots, the item slots, that like don't be committed to bislists. Like go through Philippe's guide where he goes with each slot and he talks about like the phase 1 bis guide and look at each slot and how many different options there are and be ready to just accept that you're not probably going to have phase 1 bis by the end of phase 1, right? And instead craft something, get together with your officers in your guild, other mages, other casters, and craft a route that gets goes for some bis pieces, but also just accepts that you're going to get some other upgrade pieces. You know, they're not bis, but they're good enough so that by the end of it, you have a better set than you would if you only geared for went for the phase 1 bis pieces. So just be ready to hit that upgrade button, I think is what Philippe would always say. And I think that's kind of like one of the biggest takeaways here. The other thing is like Signet of Manifested Pain. Another thing to touch on here, the ring from KTZ is really good. It's even better than Kirin Tor ring upgraded, but everyone wants it, and so it's going to be highly contested. So we don't suggest going for Kirin Tor ring just because of the cost. But if you're someone, you're a Scrooge McDuck and you got over 100K,
let's go.
You've been doing GDKVs, you're Tigward running GDKVs left and right with that host money. Then what you could do is get prio on other items, right? By not going for Signet of Manifested Pain. And you could buy Kirin Tor ring, and then as soon as phase 2 comes out, upgrade that. And it's still not as good as Signet of Manifested Pain, but it's an option you can go with. And the Kirin Tor ring with every phase. Well, I shouldn't say with every phase launch, but certainly for phase 2, you can always upgrade it when the phase launches, and then that Kirin Tor ring becomes pre-bis. At least for phase 2, I'm pretty sure that's how it works in future phases as well, with it getting upgraded. But at least with phase 2, so. That's just something to keep in mind as well, because getting all the contested pieces is obviously just not going to happen.
Important point brought up in chat is like gearing with the intent of swapping in Old Jawar Dufire is probably picking up certain pieces that give hit that are lowly contested that you can just hot swap in so you can meet hit cap requirements. Well, it's not a requirement necessarily, but that's a long discussion. But you get closer to hit cap.
Yeah, I have a question about that. You guys are talking about going fire in the future. Given the state of rep paladins until they get T10, and BM hunters, which are the only other people that apparently give the 3% damage buff, would you still have an arcane mage in your raid even when fire is the better spec?
Yes.
If it outweighs the DPS gain.
I mean, 3% damage for the raid. Are we
entire raid? Seems good.
I mean,
that's it just depends on the cap.
It's too big.
It's if you don't run a rep paladin, but I mean, between rep paladin having the blessing of might that warriors have to do very cringe things to like come close to, as far as I understand it, with attack power buffing, the 3% damage if you want to let your mages go fire, replenishment, which if you have survival hunters go marksman, they won't bring any more, and then
your prop paladin can spec into might and not lose anything.
Okay. And maybe you're not running a prop paladin potentially. Some people have been talking about it.
I don't know about that.
We'll see.
We're talking about Old War.
Yeah, true.
Somebody asked. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Will you? Whoa. Can you? How important is socketing gems to match the sockets? Is there like a rule of thumb, kind of like match your
For,
sockets
for tanks,
hit,
it's
match
a
your
stamina
sockets for-
bonus. You match it, right? Like for tanks, it's stamina you match, no matter what.
Except for mages, I'm talking about.
It just depends on the stats and what you need. So if it's a blue gem and you need a blue regardless for your method socket, you just put the blue in the blue socket to get that bonus. Otherwise, it just depends on the socket bonus, right? If it's like 3 haste or 4 haste or whatever, and you're thinking between a haste and spell power and just pure spell power, maybe it's better just go for the pure spell power. That's one of those things you just got to outweigh the difference. So
there's also a point where haste becomes not as good, right? Like having too much haste.
As a troll, potentially.
Is that easily read?
Yeah.
Is that a problem that outside of trolls going to have to deal with at all?
Yes.
Early? Like when will you have to worry about that?
Even
If
phase
everything
1
procs.
as Alliance, if you
When you get
Embrace
Embrace of the
Spiders,
Spider.
Yeah, during a proc.
And the more haste you have, the more haste it takes to lower your cast time, because haste is increase how many casts you can get in the same amount of time, right? So if I have 100% haste, it's half cast, not everything's instant cast.
Is that just for Arcane, or is this considered for Fire as well? Is
It's
Fire
not
going to have
this.
that issue as well?
Fire doesn't get haste.
Fire is longer cast
as
times.
much.
More haste for Arcane, you just get faster.
That's what I was going to say. Okay, so you're popping wild magics. Then,
Yeah, if you have Embrace of the Spider, even as Alliance, you're popping Wildcap at the open. You just don't delay Berserking because you don't have it.
All right, dope.
Yeah, that's just it. It's easy to get around because you just pre-pot wild, and then as fire, that doesn't happen because of the longer cast time, as well as we prioritize crit for fire as opposed to haste. So because just the gearing naturally happens where you just don't get as much haste. So it just doesn't really. It's a non-issue with fire, at least for Alliance. I don't know if it is with Berserking for. Can you do speed pot, pre-pot with Berserking and everything else with phase 1 fire? Do you know, Philippe?
No.
Oh, you do have to stagger it then?
With Berserking, you do. You just delay the Berserking.
For fire?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
If you're
Troll
using
Mage
Embrace
Fist, by
of
the way.
Spider. Yeah. I mean, it's still DPS gain. It's just more annoying.
The last part of the gearing and itemization, you touched it earlier, but just in case people just showed up, is there anything that you would suggest people get from TBC before TBC is over with?
Tier 3, at least 2 piece, ideally bracers and
Ring.
the ring. Yeah. I would say any 2 pieces of tier 6, but you can farm that later regardless.
And I would say if you're going into an axe before pre-patch, you get whatever 2 pieces you can get, don't you?
Yeah, whatever ones drop.
And don't
you bid on whatever. Don't hold out. All right.
Yeah, and don't talk about tier 3 bonus for Mage. Just people are gonna beat you up if they, just
Act like you're going in for transmog, guys. You know the deal.
Exactly.
Act like
We're screwing them
it
right
is.
now, man.
It is like
You're
one
there
of the
for Ashbringer
dopest
as well.
fucking T-Mog sets though. The tier 3 from Nax is so sick for Mage. That
the ring
OG
transmog
Frostfire.
ring.
Yeah, it's so sick.
Just don't tell anyone about Flame Caps or this evocation CD, and we'll keep it between us mages.
Yeah, from Sunwell itself, I would say either wand, if you already have one of them, that's fine. You just upgrade the gem in it, and you're like pretty good for pre-raid. The new gems put new value in all the items, obviously. The shoulders, Amis of the Convoker, they have really good stats. They're pre-raid base. If you have them, you just update the gems as well, which can be pretty expensive because like red gems are probably going to be expensive as fuck. I don't know how much they're going to be, and you have to check like are the BOE because the other 2 pre-raid options for shoulders are 2 BOE shoulders, and are they even cheaper or more expensive than the 2 gems you're going to put on Amis later? So that's something you have to figure out later as well.
Are the BOE random drops? So then they might
the
actually end up
shoulders,
being like relative. Are they previous for other classes? Do we know yet?
I think Dark Runic Mantle is relevant.
Dark Rune Mantle is relevant and previous for most people, and also for casters. There's gonna be a fucking trillion of them because they're BOEs and they drop multiple places.
Okay, so they drop all the time.
I'm
Okay, so it's not,
talking
like, too crazy.
Obviously different
But
than
also
private
because
servers, but they're
everyone
10
wants
gold a
them.
pop type shit.
Gold is something you want from TBC, I'll tell you that.
True.
You got the rings, you got the
True.
BOEs from Mel, you got the BOE drops from Malagos, you got all this craftable stuff.
Oh yeah, bro. You're gonna
In private servers, though, you can buy base gear from the website.
How much is flying?
So people just skip over the BOE
Okay.
rates.
Well, the cold weather flying is 1,000, dual
Oh
specs
yeah, sorry.
1,000.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just thinking also like GDKPs. If you're going to a GDKP,
turning out.
I mean,
turning tide.
These things are
turning
gonna.
tide. Yeah, turning tide, bro.
Turning tide. I mean, they're just so
loot
contested.
in general, bro, is gonna be fucking chunky. Yeah. Malgos loot, Sarthe loot. I feel like a lot of the loot is gonna be dope.
It's so easy too. It has to be one of the best GDKPs to run
because everyone will be able to do it. Yeah, you don't need like Sunwell very specifically. You couldn't like bring full carries for a while.
I mean, that was Black Temple as well, right? Just take whatever, however many shitters you want, just carry them, get a shitload of gold. Sunwell, very different.
I got a message from Jipper, says, is there a spell batching for fire mages hot streak procs? The idea was if 2 spells land within a spell batch window and only 1 crit, the game would give you heating up proc.
I mean, you can't get hot streak from Pyroblast, so
yeah, it's not. They have that in Cataclysm where Pyroblast itself can keep like contributing to hot streak. It's just your bread and butter usual spells that create hot streak.
Cool. And also flame capsules are something that you would definitely much need in TBC. Someone just mentioned.
Yeah.
Flame caps are used on cooldown with your cooldowns, I would assume. You guys can correct me on that one, but I need
I like what like what Tiki said. Probably has a shit ton of them on the auction house right now. I wouldn't just buy everything on the auction house as soon as possible. Just keep checking every day. See if somebody popped a bunch of them in the auction house. Just buy them cheap every day and just keep hoarding. Don't just buy everything blindly.
Yeah, they're 14 gold each. Yeah, they're getting. I think Deary, someone in our guild, Deary mathed it out, and it was a low. I think he said like 1,500. I would say 1,500 to 2K per person.
Yeah, you see them going up and down a lot.
Like that many flame caps. Like 2,000 flame caps, at least.
Yeah,
when Deary, I don't know if he's still in the chat, but he can correct me if I'm wrong. I think he was only calculating using the flame caps on current content. Like, we'll definitely be going into Alduar still.
Okay.
Well, I just mean like current content for each phase. So I don't know if he was counting like using flame caps
in heroics
while you're, TOGC is out. Well, TOGC is out, and you have to go back to Alduar. You continue clearing for gear and for Valeniers, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know if he was calculating using flame caps in that as well, right? So you may need more than that. The thing is, it's not like Nightmare Seeds. They don't go away forever. Don't like pay out the ass for them right now or stock up. It's not like they're going away. It's like just they're gonna continue to get bot farmed. I guarantee you. So like they'll be around on the auction house.
They're already expensive. They're not going to be going back down to 2-3 gold per, dog. That's not going to happen.
It's like a random drop.
You know why it's going up? It's going up because people are starting to realize that you need them. And then as we get
I think
closer,
it's also a run on the market,
more and more and more.
But it's a run on the market kind of thing. Everyone's panicking as if they're going away forever, when it's like, and stocking up as if like they're not going to continue to get farmed. I don't know.
True.
We'll see. I think there's definitely a stocking part of it, but there is also probably just a lot of it. Like, yeah, maybe there's a lot of people not realizing it, and so maybe I'm underestimating how many are needed across the entire population. So that there is that too. But
Dude,
they'll continue to get bot farmed. It's not like the supply
video.
Away.
Your living bomb is destroying these scions in the video. It's playing in the background.
Yeah, this part of the fire here is
have
so
them
fun.
all multi-dotted.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so much fun.
I love
the fire is so much fun.
I know I'm gonna do some heroics after this fire. I'm pretty excited. So, if you decide to dungeon level, what spec would you recommend? Arcane, Fire, or Frost? He didn't say Frost, but I like Frost, so I said Frost.
I can answer. Depends on your group, right? If you need them, if you don't have a Shadow Priest, for example, you might want to go Frost for the replenishment. If you don't have if your AoE tank isn't that good, you might want to go Frost for the slows. If you have already replenishment, or if you're just not concerned about mana, you can go as 5 if the mobs aren't dying too fast. For example, there's current farms that are 4-man dungeons, just for more XP, and mobs aren't gonna die as fast there. Fire's gonna pop off, right? Because you get a lot of time to pop those living bombs. Otherwise, Arcane melts bosses. You can take a hybrid spec of Arcane, get improved Blizzard as well for more control. Just depends on what your group needs overall. It's very hard to say, like, yeah, for this specific group, you always go this. Just depends.
Beautiful answer, thank you.
I would go what you enjoy. I think any of them are going to be good.
There you go.
And
especially if you're going to stay like 30 hours.
If you're playing 30 hours, I feel like you know what's best for your situation. You don't need our advice anyway. But if you're like, like, what do I play when I'm leveling? Please tell me.
Yeah, if you're just questing,
like, probably just what's fun for you, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, while you're there on leveling, what if you were like you're zooming dungeon cleaving. Like you're going fast. You took off a week, like 3 days of work, bro, and you're fucking zugging. What are you doing? What are you guys doing exactly? Would you Frostfire? Would you Arcane? Would you fire?
If I'm solo farming a guard keep. I haven't exactly figured out my group exactly yet, but if I can make a group, I'm going to be doing 4-man dungeon cleave with fire starter.
Okay.
Personally. If I would ever have to do open world stuff, if it's no skin off my nose to respec, I would rather be arcane and abusing 1 minute evo cooldown to never run out of mana.
What about you, Crap?
Yeah, it's same as Tigward. And my plan is I can't take off work. So my plan is to be doing Oakguard Keep. Hopefully nothing happens with that beautiful farm. I'm sure Blizzard will. Everyone mages love, everyone loves to hate mages, right? So that probably includes Blizzard, I'm sure. So
safe.
They better do something like Kara.
I don't know if it's safe.
Blizzard doesn't.
Yeah, look
mages,
at Kara, dude.
This
Kara's
Karazhan
crazy right now.
Serious, dude.
I saw Fark get up to 2
that's
million.
What needs to get fixed, not Utgard Keep. Yeah. So,
XP.
anyways, if I can, I'm planning to
they
just
fix
do
one
Utgard
and they'll
Keep.
fix the other one. So just leave everything alone. I'm leveling in the open world, so I just want everybody in an instance.
You're going open world?
You're going open world with a partner, 2 affliction locks, taking over the world, baby. Benediction first lock.
Yo, are you gonna dual box?
No, me and a homie, another lock friend of mine made mice.
I mean, you're jamming right at release. If you get ahead of the pack, questing can actually be really good on, especially on a PvE server, which I believe Benediction's PvE, right?
Yeah. Every server.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
hey, bro, I'm on Grub.
Was that a joke?
Oh, basically.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's basically a PvE server, yeah. But yeah, Grobulus is like, you guys are still like 50-50, right?
I'm starting to see some people on Benediction, though,
You will not find me in the open world. Though I will say one thing, though. If I'm solo leveling and I'm like 77 or above, there is one spot that you can't really find easily on YouTube in Iceground that has dynamic respawns that you can farm as Frost. Just saying.
Yeah. That's what I was curious about.
I know you ruined
if it was up to,
well, now it's out there.
Well, no, when I get asked about like what the world first 80 is going to be, I think it's going to be a mage because they have you have that good UK farm, and then none of their kites were nerfed in the outside world. And there's a lot of places in the outside world where they can just farm it up. You got more competition.
I actually don't think they're nerfing the new farms from 70 to 80 because
it's mostly for boosting, not.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the instance boosting thing they changed. They didn't do that in the outside world because I think the mage is going to be first 80.
Even the new dungeons. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So and there's still slave pen pulls that people are doing, which is actually more experienced than Utgard Keep, which are crazy. I don't recommend anyone trying to do that unless you want to spend a lot of time learning those pulls, like learning this slave pens pull with the way the current things are. With Utgard Keep, is no longer going to be a 1 pull, so I don't know how long it's going to be, how fast it's going to be because of the AoE cap. They finally fixed it to 10, right? So the Utgard Keep, I think, now has to be a 2 pull or a 3 pull. And I don't know if Esquire's in the chat. Probably not, but he could correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't practiced that yet.
Yeah. We're going to have an episode with just him on it for the farming. He's still doing 1 pull fine, yeah.
He's still doing 1 pull just fine, but at level 70
Is he doing
as
that
well?
at yeah, he usually starts
That's
1 pull
impressive.
at 71 or 72. Like, I only landed the 1 pull successfully at 70 like 1 time, and it was kind of sketchy the other times.
There's okay. Thank you, Esquire. So so you can be doing, if you get that down, then you can do the Utgard Keep pretty quick, and you could from there, like within 30 some minutes, you're getting all of the experience from the 5 lockouts in Utgard Keep, and then go open world questing, or even open world AoE farming, right, of mobs. There's a few certain places where there isn't that many quests associated with the mobs that you can group up, and
here's what you do.
They could basically definitely get 80 before everyone else is. I guess what I'm getting at.
Here's what you do: is you use your Karazhan Atiesh when you're full on lockouts, and then you have a paladin just farm it all for you.
Well,
and then when your lockouts are ready, you just hearth back to where you were.
Well, I feel like
that would be actually huge.
He said it. There's no instance dungeon boosting doesn't affect the raid, so duo mages can probably do fat carrot pulls, right? Can they not?
I don't know.
I don't think you can slow or like they're like pallies. Fast. I'm not sure, but the pally pull there is crazy. It seems.
I know Fark was getting 1.3 million XP per hour.
Yeah. And that's as a duo too.
Yeah, and I haven't even seen him like do it again after that, so I don't know if it got better or worse. But I know
he was doing it with the druid. So.
Yep, just 2 people in there. It looked so easy. It looked
literally so
effortless,
easy,
dog. It looked effortless.
So
a boomy
easy.
And a fucking
Brain
paladin,
dead,
dog. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, without the raids actually being out like straight away, I feel like a lot of dungeon groups will be more competitive as well. Like
there's something
in
to
the
note
past.
with that dungeon stuff. In the beta, I don't know if it got changed, but heroics were available at 78. So if you're not super racing it and you're more trying to min-max your time in the first lockout,
yeah, it's 80 now. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I was just gonna say,
That was
like,
fun.
people in the past, for example, in TBC, the top groups dungeon farming just went straight into the raids as soon as they could, like 68, 67, 69 maybe, and then they didn't actually push to the last level. Now in Wrath, with the raids being like kept for 1 week or 2 weeks after the actual launch, maybe those groups will push a lot harder. That's something to consider as well. They won't just stop and go to the raids.
Yeah.
So they'll actually compete.
It's gonna be some serious poop sucking going on for sure.
Yeah.
Like a whole week.
Little side note here: how do you guys feel about the week raid's not out until 7 days?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well,
I mean,
we never
works out
talked
good
about
for
it,
me.
so I'm just curious.
I can't take off time, so I'm happy about it.
Krat's so stoked.
Yeah,
It's nice for some, but honestly, I think there was a cool spectacle to like doing it as soon as humanly possible. Like watching Progress do it at like 66, 67 was
like
kind of
19
amazing.
hours or something like that.
For like competitive, like the very, very top end, but for like the general people going for like, I want server first or whatnot, or like I want server faction first, or just I want to clear it in the first lockout. Like this is probably less toxic for the general player base.
Yeah. Even for
like in like mid-tier competition.
Yeah, but they don't. They're probably not going to get that anyways, though. That's what just doesn't make really sense about it, in my opinion.
Although they
miss out
are,
on
if they
lockout.
go for Malagos, right? They go like straight Malagos or straight Obsidian Sanctum. Like they can take that because like
nobody else is
realistically,
gonna go, right?
most of the like your top guilds on your server are probably racing for first Nax clear, which doesn't, it gives you the title, but like you're gonna lose out on the title and all the other things. I think that part, I wish there was a way of like figuring out, because that part kind of feels a little bad. It forces you to make a choice, and that choice has an actual lasting effect because the title is, and server first like achievements are basically forever, right?
And it can backfire. You could just come out empty-handed, right?
Yeah. What if you,
like,
don't,
if you don't win
that
the race?
Nax
You go for Nax with a bunch of other people, and then I don't know, something
Or
happens.
just be the first to cheese Sartharian. Do you go for regular Sartharian, or do you try to get the 3 Drake and get both titles in one? Like,
yo, 3 Drake
just give the title
3
to all
Drake would be
mages.
faster anyways, because you don't want the time spent in killing each of the Drakes when you're clearing the trash.
If you're on top of your shit, I think you just do 3 Drake and just, but probably do it last.
Yeah,
I think that is very good. I think it's good that they extended it a week, because I'm excited because it gives all these other guilds. There's probably guilds out there who pump and they can do great. They just don't have the 25 bodies to be able to sweat and be in a raid in 12 hours after launch. You know what I mean?
Noobs could never compete in any of the Race to World First because of like the timing of launches.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be great. I think we're gonna see some other guilds that are gonna be clapping instead of the same guilds. This is coming from someone who's in a guild that's gonna be racing. I still think.
Do you
it's
think
cool,
they're gonna do Thursday?
I still think it's gonna be fair. I don't know.
Because that would be global release timing as opposed to Tuesday.
I mean, it still releases at a shit time for them.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, thinking about that. Yeah,
I was always thinking it would be Thursday,
like 3 p.m.
It's probably Thursday.
PST, so midnight CET.
Yeah,
even if
always
it won't be later.
I want to see the world first immortal run. Yeah, I think I'm glad they're doing that. I don't know if they can do it for like the. Do you think they'll do it for the other phases? That'd be a little. Oh no, why would you? There's no fucking leveling. I'm stupid. I'm high. Ignore that. I'm stoned. I'm stoned. Ignore that. That one didn't. I didn't say that.
All good. It's all good.
What about the stackability of mages in a raid? Many people asked about this. What do you guys think about stacking mages? How many mages can you bring to the raid, justifiably and objectively, and in your guys' terms? If you really think that you can viably stack mages, do you talk about it?
More later.
How many classes are you stacking to begin with? There's not that many in Wrath. I feel like
Rogue, DK, Warlock.
But you can stack them. That's what I'm saying. You can stack rogues. You can stack warlocks. You can. That's what I'm just wondering about mages. What do you think is going to be normal for a mage? Do you think we're just going to be kind of common to see 1 mage, 2 mage? Is a third too much?
I think 2 is common.
The mage in your raid.
You don't have the same constraints as TBC where you need to be in the Shadow Priest group, so the cap was basically always 3. And even then, like as they fell off, you had to like consider doing less of them. In Wrath, I mean, the cap is just get your raid buffs and go. So like you can go pretty off the rails with it, depending on what you're trying to min max for. Like I don't doubt with the tuning, we see that we might see some some like deja vu's of hiking Malgar style kills with Arcane Mages just Pepega pumping
Both there
bosses.
on 3D.
In the
like
speed
three
kills,
Drake,
for sure.
right? But if you're talking like a complete raid scenario, I would have to go against my Mage brothers and say like 2 is probably cap in my mind, and 1 is pretty good. I don't think you go 0.
I feel like you go 1 for sure. 2 is probably like if you have 2 good mages, because like actual good mages are hard to find. Probably
Yes.
go 2. But then past that, just it's hard to get that many good mages in a single top raid. I don't know.
I think it goes by phase though as well. I mean, are we talking just only phase 1 here?
I mean, if you look at
that's
ICC,
phase 1. That's phase 1.
We're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
max.
Because like later on, the thing is you can bring more.
They're very stackable, right? As you,
Yes.
yeah.
And people go fire and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but right now, yeah, like you
I
definitely
feel
want at
like
least
we're talking
1.
about Arcane
I'd say
for the
2.
most part.
Yeah.
Personally, my guild is running 1, but that's dependent on like our player profile. So
I don't even think
That's
Fusion's
me,
running
baby.
mages, bro. You know what
let's
I mean?
go.
Damn.
I'm getting all the innervates.
Yeah.
That-
That's also another thing. Like you're somewhat not really limited, but like a little capped by the amount of innervates you have. So if you have like 2 or 3 druids, take 2 or 3 mages if you want like every mage to get 1 and actually pump.
You can run more than 2 though. We're talking like stackability competitively.
Yeah.
Like you can run 3, you can run 4. Like you'll clear the
You can
content.
run like however many you want, and you'll still clear the content, just optimal, right?
Yeah, and especially it's going to be like in phase 1. There's definitely still a lot of player over the class thing. Like if your warlocks aren't, your warlock base isn't that great or
Players
whatever,
way
and you have
bigger
like
in Wrath.
you have like 3 or 4 decent mages. I mean, they're going to pump just as much as those locks if those locks aren't on the ball. So
I mean, you've seen it in the testing, yeah, bro. The mages
Dude,
are
I really
pumping.
think
exactly.
player
Right now, I
makes
feel
a
like-
huge difference now.
Yeah, because right now, like if you look at the locks on the beta, the only locks you see slapping are the locks you know what they're doing, bro. Like you don't see a lot of the warlocks up there clapping first top 3, top 5, overall.
And you guys still have everlasting affliction bug, and you
Yeah.
only just got quick decay fix
That's
and haven't
fixed,
raided
right?
with
well,
it.
that's true. Yeah.
Or
So,
yeah,
and you're
they
still
fixed our
slapping.
quick decay, but
Like-
they inserted another bug on accident. It's not as big of a deal, but it's pretty stupid.
You're gonna stack warlocks for sure over mages until Mages Fire Kingdom comes, if it does.
It's coming.
I love it. Okay, well next is races, my friends. What's up? What's the best races? Troll, right? Troll
And
horde.
mail
yeah.
attack.
There
This
it is.
baby.
Can you? Well, I guess troll is troll objectively best,
You
right?
guys cover horde. You
Yes.
guys cover horde.
Yeah, yeah,
All right,
yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
troll is
Troll doesn't have
objectively
it.
best.
Well, Undead's even nerfed. Like Will the Forsaken is like even worse. I mean, I guess it doesn't
And it
really
has
apply in
worse stats
PvE,
as
but
well.
I think Blood Elf might be. I think it's maybe a little better. I don't know if their race changes a little bit. You might be better suited to handle that, but generally speaking, Troll is head and shoulders above the other 2.
So
Yeah,
What about orc?
I think
it is like
Or
it is hard
mage.
to play a bit.
I think that people knew that it was going to be troll, and I'm very interested in seeing the human versus gnome versus. That's what I want to know because I get asked that all the time.
I mean,
Yeah,
as
so-
alliance, if you're making a mage, just go Draenei.
Yeah.
If you're making
True.
one.
Okay. No.
If
The
you don't know your
DKs
raid, that's
The DKs can provide that. They're having to go a new race anyways. They can save you the $25 of having to race change because you've likely been human like a proper mage should be before. So you shouldn't have to pay the money to faction change or race change to Draenei to provide hit when those people can just go Draenei as DK and provide the hit. Okay, I'm partly trolling. If you need the hit, Draenei is the best, right? Someone in the party needs to go it for your raid. But when it comes, and then outside of that, so let's say you already got the inspiring presence from someone in your party because you need at least five Draenei in your raid. Gnome is more DPS than human. It's anywhere between 30 to 50 from previous
It's
to
very
phase
low.
one this. Well, people are going to look at 30 to 50 DPS as quite a bit, right?
there's a note on like the
That's
DK
like
thing.
Now.
less than 1%.
Now.
That's less than 1%.
Yeah,
There's a note on
right.
Draenei racial.
Yes, but
It's
everyone,
group
we're
specific, so.
talking to sweaty min-maxers who are willing to pick their race in order to get things. Like that's just it. I'm glad you guys at least are going to agree with me on this. That it's a small amount of DPS. You're also having to give up your will to survive, right? Which is better than escape artist, and you're having to give up your dignity by playing a gnome as opposed to.
Oh my god.
So
That
I
is
mean,
probably
let's
the
weigh those
cheapest
costs. All right.
Mm.
You get more visibility on your screen. Less character model.
Yeah, but
you can't make
you're
like
gonna,
little
by
jumps
choice,
in
play a
Maraudon.
beta short person.
Oh my gosh. Tell us how you really feel, Krat.
That's how I feel. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm choosing the tallest. I want like a tall character. You know, I'm just alpha.
I fucking hate gnomes. That's not a secret, bro. They're creepy. They're scary looking dog.
Draenei male player, I think. Is that what we got here?
Can I get you?
Like, I'm not trying to deal with all that.
Draenei Mail's thick. Real thick boy.
There was a point you brought up with the Draenei racial though, is that there just like generally as a system in Wrath, like things are mostly raid wide, but there are a few things that are group specific. Like we mentioned Draenei racial, the 1% hit is group only, but then there's a few things. I think it's Vampiric Embrace, the healing from a Shadow Priest is group specific, Tremor Totem is group specific, and Healing Stream is group specific, and so is Mana Tide.
Yes,
otherwise, the groups sort of don't matter, but that does generally mean you want like.
The other thing that is Divine Sacrifice only affects your group.
Okay.
The thing that makes you take damage for them, not the 20% Divine Guardian. That's your entire raid. So if you have a prop paladin, you always put him with the other tanks, so he can take damage for them if they're tanking.
Yeah, so there's like a little bit of a Tetrising problem
really nice.
to figure out, particularly for Alliance with Draeneis. So if you want to make it easy for them, probably just go Draenei, but that's only if you're re-rolling or are willing to pay Blizzard.
There you go.
Thanks, Irene. Where were you on that when I made my video? Fuck.
What about professions? Hit the professions up. Is it just engineering and tailoring, bro, the whole way up? Is there some JC love in there? Are you tailoring JC maybe for like what's going on? Enchanting? I'm just naming random shit at this point. Take it away.
Engineering always the benefits just better than every single other profession combined. You either get the boots, the enchant, the rock boots. You get haste on gloves, the proc, which you can play around with on open, just insane. You then also get sappers and bombs, which are now instant. You need to be goblin engineering to use the new sappers, but like you can swap for 150 gold, I think. But yeah, you just go engineering no matter what. That's mandatory for all.
If you don't go engineering, you're gonna get laughed at. The whole raid's gonna rocket boot forward, and
everyone's gonna leave you behind. Yeah.
It's 0 DPS if you're not there at the pole.
You go engineering. If you don't go engineering, just don't care about DPS to begin with. Other than that, tailoring kind of goes back and like up and down depending on the fight duration. Against JC specifically, the gems in phase 1 and like early phase and phase 2 before the new epic gems release. The epic gems from JC are like kind of close depending on the fight duration. On the start, like the tailoring proc, so tailoring gets an enchant on the cloak. The cloak that gives insane spell power every 45 seconds, I believe. And it starts very high burst, matches with your procs, and then it goes down and up. And JC gets close with around like 2 minutes to 3 minutes. But as a whole, especially for overall as well, because it's going to match with the open on AoE, you just want to go tailoring for the most part. Yeah, there's the graph if you want to open that up.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, I put in the graphs there. So one is the one where like jewel crafting starts to overcome light weave over time is, and I didn't make this. This is credit goes to like someone in Priest Discord, which Mechaclone stole it from them, and I don't know, whatever.
We're all family.
Yeah, is before epic gems, and then the one where light weave is like clearly kind of always better, or for the most part, is after epic gems release, which just comes with TOGC.
And this is like in BIS. So one thing to know about tailoring is that it actually has wearable crafts. So, if you want to go that route instead of farming other things, then that can get you up to speed potentially faster as well.
That BOEs, yeah.
Right.
Still cheap.
Yeah. The other thing to note, though, with these graphs is that it's not taking into account CD stacking with that light weave proc. So there's that to take into account, too. So this is more focused like on longer fights or speed running, where jewel crafting is just going to always be there benefiting you, while like in a speed run, you're not always able to like match up your light weave procs. So you have to take that into account. But if you're like a parse person, you just care about rankings and everything like that, like you're going to want the CD stacking power of light weave, I would think. Even looking at this, that jewel crafting over a long period of time does start to win out, right? So like,
it's
just the fact that what's that?
I'm like,
go on.
Isn't there other things to like? Because light weave is the 5-minute cooldown, right?
No, it's a minute.
Is that what's going on?
60
no,
seconds.
Oh, it is,
60 seconds. It's just
60 seconds. Okay.
It's like
Gotcha. This also doesn't account for any time that you're not hitting the boss. So like if there's ever any gaps in the fight.
Yeah, that would help Lightweave, but
a lot.
At the same time, you could have a Lightweave proc right before like a downtime, right? So it
Yeah.
can go both ways.
When it procs on
Overall,
everything.
I would say though, it's what it comes down to is like,
Yeah.
if that in that situation you're speedrunning, you want that jewel crafting. I mean, I would still just say you could just go tailoring, but jewel crafting's I would say on par until epic gems come out. And then even then though, like as long as you have engineering for the better cloak enchant, then which this obviously takes into account that you have engineering for the cloak enchant if you have jewel crafting, so you're not just using the 23 haste cloak enchant or whatever. As long as you have engineering, you don't have to go tailoring. It's definitely better than the others. Is my take, but someone in more casual guild or semi-hardcore, something like that, they've had enchanting, they like having all the enchants, they're the guild enchanter or whatever. It's not going to be the end of the world if you have enchanting versus jewel crafting or tailoring, right? So there are other professions that you can go, but tailoring and engineering is pretty much going to be BIS especially if you utilize that Lightweave proc in a CD stacking manner.
Yeah,
I got
another
a hot
thing
take.
is,
Go ahead.
quickly.
It's completely unrelated. You go ahead.
Yeah, so currently most mages, especially in high end, are engineering and enchanting, so they'll have to drop profession regardless from enchanting to either tailoring or JC. And then later on, we drop JC when the new epic gems come out. So we're gonna drop a profession now to get a profession that we're gonna drop later. So might as well go for the tailoring that's based throughout the entire expansion instead of going for JC. That's okay in comparison, and then drops off later. So instead of doing 2 or 3 profession swaps, just do 1 straight to tailoring, and you're sorted for all of Wrath.
Yeah, you let your guild PvPers do JC because they're going to want to do, I believe, NGJC mostly, and then they can be the guild jewel crafter. Would probably be the way to plan it if you can afford to do that. One thing that is kind of completely unsaid, and individual greedy parse lords might not like about the professional slot, is that there is one thing that leatherworking has to offer. And that's drums of speed are still in the game and apply to your group. And
how much did Deary pay you? How much did he pay
saying.
you? I just want to know.
I'm just saying. And it comes with, I believe, a bracer enchant that's not terribly far off from these alternatives. So the static passive bonus you get is not so much worse, that having like drums of speed in each group is something worth considering. It's not mage specific necessarily, but it's something
who
to
would you make have it if you had to?
running.
If you had to make someone get it, who would it be?
I would make healers get it, but they're the healer group, so
the problem is 4 out of 5 people need to get it.
Yeah.
To rotate it.
Oh, true.
Yeah. It's like a 20 out of 25 thing to get permanent uptime on it, because tinnitus isn't potentially
cooldown with Sapper?
Yeah,
Yes.
it shares it with engineering. Yeah, this
But
is
still
absolutely an unintended bug. Okay, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to. All the other ones give
record it
except drum
until
speed,
then.
Speed, and it's only just regular drum of speed, right? It's not even the greater, if I remember right.
I don't even know.
Are even greater drums? I don't know.
For a speed, aren't there?
I don't know.
I believe there are, and that it was just regular, and it's only drums of speed that this happens with.
Jesus.
Oh, it's
so
the
the real solution is we're just going to
15%.
spam bug report the crap out of this, so none of us have to go.
We need to make a video about this. Do I need to add this to my list of tweets I need to get mad about?
It would be pretty cringe gameplay. It would be pretty cringe gameplay, but if it is in the game, there's an argument for speedrunning for it to be something to consider.
Absolutely.
It's
maybe not 4 out of 5. Maybe not 4 out of 5 because you want to use explosives, but maybe some. And even if it shared a cooldown, I don't think it puts explosives on a 2-minute cooldown, right? It puts them on 1 minute, and so you can alternate to a certain extent, because you only have so many sappers. There could be specific use cases of this.
I mean, for speedrunning, because you have no minor speed anymore, this would just take over, I feel like.
Well,
Yeah,
the drums of speed would always
of the
stack
tappers.
anyways. Drums of speed would always stack anyways.
But it just increases the overall
stack with
basis
Hunter?
rate.
I think it's multiplicative or additive.
Right now, it stacks with everything.
Damn.
It literally stacks with everything. It's giga broken.
Let's do it, boys.
So it lasts 30 seconds. It has a... What's the cooldown? 2 minutes?
Look, Crash just shaking his head.
Yeah,
Please don't.
you get a 1/4% uptime by
if
having
I have to go leatherworking, I swear
Why,
to
bro?
God.
Speed is speed, baby. You know that.
So
Yeah, I know. I don't want to. I got my tailoring kit all set up.
I don't want to do it either. I'm just
Me
saying.
neither, but if it does work.
I'm banking on just spamming that Blizzard email button and also twit button, and I'll make videos and I don't know, drive to
Tweeter
Brian's
button.
house.
I'm on him, bro. I got you.
Dear, you can send PayPal later for that one.
Oh,
He
man.
didn't tell me anything. I'm just trying to be a villain here. You know?
You just take the lesser enchant, go for that, and every 30 seconds a different person procs it and just keeps going. Which is gonna be
keep
like
moving
you have
fast.
to set up like a
Moving.
macro with Whisper or some shit in like a specific order preset and just keep pressing the macro.
Literally, that would be crazy.
don't know where to
If
look.
they don't change it, it for sure will be used.
I mean, for people that did like speed kill on Mag, it's gonna be a similar macro to kicks there, where every kick just whisper the next person and so on, and that was insanely annoying. So it's just that, but the entire raid.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cancerous.
Oh yeah.
Next,
Can't wait.
if anybody has anything to chime on it, gold farming. Any kind of little cheeky gold farm, and then the last topic is pre-patch. And then anybody in here wants to answer questions, because that's the last two topics. Just spam questions if you had them, and then I'll ask them afterwards. Any kind of gold farming, if you guys have even looked into it at all.
I'm not a savant on this topic, but I find it hard to imagine that even farming a guard keep after leveling will be terrible for gold. You're going to get a lot of chances for drops there, and you can probably do it in heroic to a certain extent as well.
Early on, the cloth is worth quite a lot as well.
Yeah. And then there are these open world dynamic respawn farms, depending on your layering, where you can just keep farming mobs on cooldown. Generally speaking, mages usually win over by farming a lot of mobs instead of farming specific mobs. So it's going to be a dungeon farm, which just makes me think guard keep, or open world cleaving, which makes me think dynamic respawns.
Yeah, mages just kind of like warlocks, right? You just never really have to stop, other than especially as the fire build, because you're getting a little bit of
mages have to
mana
stop
back.
at some point. Yeah,
You do go through
literally
mana,
do not have to
but
stop.
The guard keep one, you'll hit lockout unless it's possible to do it on heroic and the health is too high. That I have a hard time imagining you'd still hit lockout. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything to add other than like right now you could do Nax before it goes away. You can farm the ghouls, do AoE pull. I don't know, get scraps for people and sell other things. It's like 400 to 1,000 gold, I think.
Damn.
Really?
Someone posted in one of the Mage Discord. Yeah.
Damn.
It is very
That'll be going away come
specific.
pre-patch.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
Like timing specific farm is like, it's all about reading the market unless you're doing raw gold farming. So like if you're doing an guard keeper and open world farm, you got a lot of chance to get BOEs, not just cloth, which will be super high value early expansion, but you can get like the dark runic mantle maybe. I don't know what mobs it drops from, but like there's probably a lot of BOEs that people are interested in, or just raw materials. So grinding mobs should be pretty lucrative, I would imagine.
Yeah. Agreed.
I like it. What about on the way out? Some pre-patch love. I have a spec here that looks like you. This is what comes up on the Wi-Fi for pre-patch. Okay, first off, are you Arcane for pre-patch still?
Yeah,
Yes.
I believe so.
yeah.
And are you playing the same as you would? Go ahead.
So Arcane gets the both base glyphs for Arcane. So it gets glyph of Arcane Blast and glyph of Arcane Missiles, while Fire gets nothing. So Fire does get like all the updated shit and as high crit because we're still level 70 with current gear. So Fire does pop off in that sense where it has high crit straight away, but then Arcane just has new glyphs. In the fights will be a lot shorter. Like people have already tested PTR Sunwell, and the
It's
fights
like
are insanely
50%,
short.
right?
Yeah, and
ridiculous.
the fights are already short, I say. So like 3-minute brutalis and whatnot, even now. So come pre-patch like 90 to 2 minutes, and current mana, current crit, then both basically if you just go Arcane for the most part. You can go Fire, it's gonna work fine. It's gonna be a really good example of how Fire will work in Wrath with actual gear because of the high crit from level 70, because you still haven't scaled up. So if you want to just see, because none of the rankings matter in pre-patch, so if you just want to practice or see Fire for what it is, to get a feel for it, it's the best time to do it, because you're going to have high crit. Outside of that, just play whatever you want, honestly. It's very hard to tell someone to just
You're probably going to be carrying DKs and greens in a lot of these raids, so and it's going to be super easy. So just have fun with it. But Felipe does have pre-patch BIS lists for the different specs on Wildhead as well.
Right here, baby.
For those interested, asking like, do I steer well tier 5? Generally answers those questions.
Yeah, tier 5 gets nerfed from 20% damage to Arcane Blast buff to just 5%, so it loses 15% of the damage. And you just
That's huge.
You replace that with Sunwell items, just have higher stats. Not very complicated. And then the hit changes, so you fill that hit with like Skull.
So the thing is that we don't have sims for pre-patch because like screw making sim for pre-patch, like that's just, it doesn't
for like
lie.
2 weeks.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. And so that 5% on the Arcane Blast, that 2-piece bonus, I mean, your Arcane Blast is still like 60% of your damage. I think Crexy has pointed that out. And so like, if you have tier 5 2-piece, that I think could still be pretty good, pretty close compared to replacing it with Sunwell pieces. So I basically the whole thing I'm getting at is like, don't stress. It's not a big, it's pre-patch. Everything's getting nerfed. Try out different specs. Just have fun with it. And I think Crix, you were kind of asking, like, do you play it the same way? Yeah, you play it the same way as in with Wrath. That's basically
same Wrath way. Yeah.
Same Wrath way. Yeah. So everything we've been talking about for how you play Wrath, because it's basically as if Wrath is out, but you can't go to Northrend. Is the way to think of pre-patch for everyone.
I would say one thing to keep in mind for pre-patch going into Wrath of the Lich King is that your hit ratings and these things devalue as you level. So you might be hit capped at 70, but you hit 71 and then you're under hit cap, albeit for raid bosses. So depending on your spec, you might want to save some extra hit gear. Like obviously you'd be wearing Skull of Gul'dan regardless if you have it. If you don't, try to get it. As long as it's not for a pretty penny. But there's a lot of
cheap right
options to change around your hit. Like maybe even wear like Serpent Coil Braid on leveling. I don't know. There could be options for like just hit substitutions, Chronicle of Dark Secrets over Heart of the Pit, etc.
The hit neck from Twins as well. Another hit ring maybe.
And also, like haste will devalue as you go up, right? So if you're planning on using like Ash Tongue Talisman, just think of that. Like haste will devalue as you level. Another thing that we didn't touch on that Rugs brought up in the recent video is don't get rid of any high item level gear that you don't need. Hold on to that and make a Flame Leviathan set, because when you're in the vehicle, the stats are based on your item level. So
Malagos too, right? But it's
I suppose, right. But I mean, that doesn't matter. But if you want to prep for Alduar, at least as you're clearing Sarthe and whatnot, just all that extra gear that no one cares about, make sure people build a high item level set. Just a little aside that I just realized.
Hate to interrupt. I do have to leave, so thank you guys so much for having me. Sorry I wasn't as active this time. I mean, I literally just finished an entire Sunwell Plateau raid as a rogue. That's how easy rogue is. So,
oh, you're good. We're done here in a little bit anyway, too. We got the closing, too.
Yeah, I got to tap out. It was good seeing you guys. Tigward, thanks for coming on, man. And Kateria, great for meeting you. And Felipe.
Yes, nice meeting you as well. Did you just like saying goodbye kick me off or something? Like,
I was just thinking that. I was like, what the fuck?
I got to bounce, though, so I'll see you guys later. Sorry, always a pleasure, Crix. Next time, I'll see you, man. Just let me know.
Oh, you're fine. Next week.
See.
Yeah.
All right.
Love you, guys. Have a good weekend.
You too, man.
Well, there's the cameras. Did you guys have anything else to add on pre-patch while I fix this? Other than that, we're gonna shoot questions in here, and then that's it, boys.
I'm ready for some of those questions, baby.
I've been asking them as we go this whole time. That's why I've been cutting you guys off. So I don't know if there's actually questions there.
Just trying to think for pre-patch. Don't focus on Sunwell gear. Like even though Amos is pre-bis,
there's options.
Don't worry about it.
I think other people are going to buy so much stuff, right? Like run the GDKPs, but you're honestly like DKs and other rerolls, like especially 70 boosters, are about to spend a lot of gold, you know? It's going to be a really good time for that.
And
I mean,
even with MS, you can replace that with tier 7, 25 man shoulders super quickly because it's Valor. All the tier 7 shoulders you buy with emblems. So, you know, everything you replace super easily with emblems, Valor, heroism. Like, just don't stress about Sunwell gear, honestly. It's just
Yep.
There's some good stuff if you already have. Great. Just chill with that. You can use it later, but don't chase it. Don't spend a shit ton of gold now that you can spend later on more relevant stuff in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. I'm excited to spend money on. I'm not excited to spend money on DKs.
Yeah, I can't wait until Nax and Turning Tide drops. I have to open up my wallet and this is all the gold I have.
Yeah, similarly, the same shit applies to Kirin Tor Ring. We talked about it earlier, but like that shit's expensive as fuck, and it's just not that good.
So expensive.
The Kirin Tor Ring for Mage performs as well as the 2 heroic rings. So that's, let me just very quickly go to the ring section.
How much P2 like gear do you think it will take to go fire?
I think Criteria kind of got into this a little bit, but you could go fire immediately if you got phase 1 fire abyss, but that's rather unlikely. So it'll probably take a little bit of gear. But it remains to be seen because of the sims whether or not, even if you have an unoptimal set, going fire will be better if the fight lengths are long enough or there's cleave value on certain fights. So you'll be going fire pretty soon, generally speaking, is the gist of it.
Yeah, that's basically my prediction.
It's very hard to say for sure exactly when. So you won't hear, if anyone tells you a statement of you go Wrath exactly, you go fire exactly this week or whatever, or like this phase exactly at the start, they're bullshitting you. Like just wait for the sims, wait for all that stuff. You know, it depends very much on the raids as well, and we have to raid test that to make sure on the fight durations and the trash actually lives long enough to get the living bomb off. But general statements are fine. You just can't trust that for sure, 100%.
Yeah, anytime you hear like the general statements you'll typically hear is like, oh, well, once you get like 50% crit, or once you get tier 4 8 or tier 8 4-piece, right? Or something like that. It's like, no, it's not that simple. Like you're gonna have to sim it. And like the reason I say that fire is like because it's like just looking so close in phase 1 bisc gear for tank and spank. When you then take into account the cleave, I definitely think fire will go ahead, and the mobility on, and especially because it's on. If those are easy fights that don't matter, then it's like, yeah, whatever. You always want to like, it's about aiming for the hardest fight, right? Because that's what's going to really be the bottleneck for your guild and the bottleneck for like a launch race and stuff like that. So that's where I think that fire will definitely be ahead if you have the gear. And I think, like Tig said, once you start to get that gear in Alduar, that's my prediction. But like to Fleetbay's point, like, you hear these general statements like once you have 50% crit or something like that. Like, no. It's going to take, we're going to have to just kind of wait and see, like Felipe said, and see how it goes on BTR.
And these are like private server people that probably know exactly how fights are going to go because they're on their 3rd trip through Warmane. Something to keep in mind for progression is that usually the easier to play spec that can deal with stuff going south on a fight is the better one for progression. And Arcane kind of has a problem with that. If a fight's suddenly going to take 2 minutes longer because you're down a couple DPS because there was the raid wide mechanic that went out that killed a couple people, then suddenly your even mana negative conservative rotation means that you're doing 0 DPS for the back minute of the fight, hoping that the boss will die sitting with your wand in your hand, so to speak.
I like that. Just with your wand.
100%.
What is that? I remember. Go ahead, Sarthe.
Just so
no, I was just saying.
It's also less cerebral, so like you can avoid mechanics a lot easier playing fire with a more instant cast abilities and movement. Like even if the fight doesn't physically demand for it, you can use more of your brain space on the mechanics of the fight.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean,
go on, Felipe.
So I was gonna say, if somebody wants like an approximate of the DPS gap, like in phase 1 base, like 10% DPS gap between Arcane and Fire. So you're not gonna make that 10% up instantly just going into a phase. That's gonna take like quite a few weeks, maybe a couple months. Outside of progression, where Tiggy's points apply, like it's gonna take a few weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months to make up that gap of 10% DPS into phase 2 to actually get DPS out of Fire to outperform Arcane. So it's not gonna be as a phase arrives, it's gonna be in the middle of a phase as you get new gear.
Yeah,
just because a phase swaps doesn't mean you suddenly do more DPS. It comes with a gear.
Someone was saying like that, or just joking that Arcane's Pepegi easy to play, and like basic rotation is easy to play, but the reason why Arcane is so much better than Fire is a certain min-max and spacing cooldowns and mana management, and so you have to use brain space on that. or mess it up, then the difference is less. And then playing the simpler spec that might be farther behind on simulations with computers playing it perfectly and not having to respond to mechanics is like it's more of a wash.
Yeah, and also like I get what you're saying, Felipe. Like like as far as tank and spank, like I'm taking into account like the actual encounters and just what I know about them. Like Mimiron, the last phase, is definitely kind of like one of the hardest parts because it's all the phases combined. There's a lot of shit going on. People are gonna die.
It's gonna be hectic. Yeah.
Just speaking from experience, and there's 3 targets that are all gonna get cleaved from Living Bomb, and well, until one of them dies, right? You prioritize, but still at the start of it. And there's even cleave in the 3rd phase, and then also Freya. There's and mobility a lot throughout the fight, and that's going to be one of the hardest fights. And same with Freya. And so like, I get what you're saying, and I agree. At the same time, I'm looking at because like Arcane with 1 Innervate is definitely good amount ahead of Fire on a tank and spank, even on like a longer duration fight. But these fights can go pretty long, like a lot longer than 3 minutes. And then also they got that cleave component and a lot of mobility. And so I'm taking that into account because I've even noticed, well, I mean, right now it's hard to go off the beta. There's so much crap wrong with the beta, right? But, you know, even with the fights where there is mobility and some cleave, like Fire catches up. And so like that matters a lot. You get that Living Bomb cleave, you get the extra hot streak procs. I mean, you're then
on the reverse though, there's also the fact that in fights with downtime, you have time to evo without losing uptime on the boss. So that's
sure.
something to consider as well.
That's in there in Firefighter, absolutely. But you also just have you have those breaks, but then Fire still has it has those breaks too, just to make sure it's good on mana. But it has that cleave and mobility component, which is really going to hurt Arcane, I think.
The biggest save to me is still just safety. For the vast majority of guilds, it's not about like pushing all the damage, like doing 10% more damage. It's doing 100% of your damage and living and not dying. And to me, guilds, Fire like wins out every time across the board in that regard. To the point that like even if it's less DPS for and as long as you know the rotation and are not first timing it, if you're not like really like at the 99+ percentile of like classic World of Warcraft, I would recommend going Fire probably even sooner than some other people might.
I'm not sure.
That's my take.
I can see that. Yeah, no, that's not not a bad take. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, if you don't care that much about the performance overall and the rate DPS, just do it. Unless you need a 3% bow.
Right. Yeah. That's a big deal.
I will say I was pretty surprised by Mechacone's graph that has Frostfire so much lower in Phase 1 BIS.
I think there was a bug with the sim previously that
that was what had it higher. It's just kind of crazy because Frostfire feels really great right now compared to Fire. Although I need to try Fire again. I can't wait till this next testing because I fucked up Fire my first time doing it. So I want to go back and do Fire compared to Frostfire as well as obviously Frost.
And just like we're discussing now, like all this stuff just doesn't pop up out of nowhere. Like it keeps evolving. Like they said, the sim had a bug where it was making a spec overperform, and the current theory crafting keeps evolving and evolving. So checking with sources, Mage Discord for example, or anything else, just the best way to get updated, because stuff just changes. Just hard to know.
I love these episodes, dude. This is so much fun. I feel like people just learn so much. I feel like from it, and that's
like everything about the class that's known so far, and what to worry about or watch out for.
By people who are doing it too. And for those that don't know, I move these cameras around a lot because I know people want to see meters, or if I'm showing like the spell book, that's why I'm moving it for people who complain about it. So if you're in here, you've complained about it, that's why.
One other thing we didn't touch on Fire is like the distance to the boss. If you're the right distance from the boss, then like if you're just far enough away, it depends on your cast time and everything. You know, it's going to be hard to explain without like a visual and stuff.
Because projectiles?
Want me to do it
yeah, because of the travel time and your hot streak proc. If you're far enough away, then you can, like say Living Bomb goes off after your Fireball, then you could refresh Living Bomb before you have to use your hot streak. Because like, let's say you just crit, right? So your next crit is going to give you a hot streak proc, but you already also have a hot streak proc. So you want to use that hot streak in case your Fireball is going to crit, but Living Bomb's also falling off at the same time. Well, you ideally want to like refresh Living Bomb and then hot streak, but if you're too close to the boss, your Fireball could land and crit before you have a chance to use that instant Pyroblast before it crits, and then you could waste a hot streak proc. So your distance from the boss can be also min max. There's a number of like little
hunters know
things
that,
like that
really well in this expansion.
Oh, okay.
Too. Yeah.
I'm glad so many hunters are rerolling Mage. That's great to hear.
That's all I got for this, guys. 3 hours almost on the nose. These long ones, I love these ones. They're nice. Any closing thoughts from Tiggy, Krat?
Aircraft. I don't know exactly what you're saying. That's not exactly what I was explaining, though. I know you can stack heating up while you have hot streak. My point was that you have heating up and also hot streak, and so your next crit is going to give you a hot streak. So you have to use your pyroblast before that fireball hits. Otherwise, it could crit and you waste a hot streak. But also, your living bomb just fell off, and you want to have your living bomb uptime as high as much. Anyways,
there will probably be a big flow chart, honestly, for those of you that need a flow chart to understand something about projectiles and dots and hot streaks. But there is nuance to it.
Ask about the undead set for Nax. That's a classic question. I don't know what what's that.
There's a new one.
Yeah, it's Biss.
Okay.
Oh, fuck off.
You definitely want it. That 4% damage is bugged. It actually it's currently quadruple duping. I think.
Did
on the
someone
PTR.
say triple? Quad dipping?
God, triple quad dipping. It's actually 12.
Are we talking about the dipping?
No, it's garbage. We're no longer role playing as level 10 priests. Okay, and get that shit out of your
It's
head.
just for taking up space in your bank. That's about it.
I still have it on my. Yeah.
High five, Tig. Let's go.
I wanted to wear it to this podcast, but Simon Eyes just wins.
Oh man, you
What
guys
does the
are
new one
amazing.
look like?
I figured it would just be my bathrobe, but with like some purple streaks on it.
This is the undead set. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just not that great. Considering you can get tier 7 so easily from badges, EDC is just not even good for pre-raid. Just forget it.
It was only good before because of the way Ignite worked in Classic. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Also, the new one does not make you look like a level 10 priest, so what's the point of even wearing it then?
Makes you look like a fresh 65 some shit. It's like dungeon gear from
Like a boosted character or something.
Yeah. It's like Shatra's zone gear from dungeons.
I liked looking like I was under level and then winning on the meters and then just dancing next to people.
Yeah. Where's your undead
good.
set? You didn't farm this, dude?
Is there anything from pre-patch events worth getting? New undead weapon oil or anything?
It's definitely good to get and just use it during pre-patch, but once your item level goes above 165, you can't use oils anymore. So, but that new undead oil, it's like 100 spell damage on undead. So, yeah,
You can on the beta still right now. They haven't fixed that yet. You're able to use oils.
Yeah, so if they don't fix it, then you're definitely gonna want it and stock up. I mean, the thing is, like, I don't want to tell people to stock up just in case they don't fix that, because it's like we're probably gonna fix that. I mean, that was a pretty big thing in Wrath of the Lich King. I doubt they're not gonna fix that. But you can still use it. I don't know.
I still got 100 of the classic ones.
Yeah, well, these are going to replace.
God.
I mean, this is 100 damage. This is pretty big, and there's new consecrated sharpening stones too, right? So like you could use it on Fell Mist and.
There's something about the Brewfest event that's unknown potentially.
Right, if we're gonna be able to get weapons from that,
where it's like you get the duplicate version of Sundial, I think.
Yeah.
Or you get
there's a couple of
again
events.
Or something.
Yeah, there's a couple of events. There's
that would be huge.
There's the Oktoberfest one that matches with the release of the raids, and then there's the Halloween one, which has a pretty okay item. So Hallow's End matches exactly with the Wrath release, so we might get the 70 one. So because the raid releases after the event, you might get the 70 version of the actual item, which is useless. It's just a pipe, which we already have. If you get the 80 version of the BRD event, we get a trinket that's just Sundial, the pre-raid based trinket, which doesn't stack. It's same proc as Sundial. It's not like pipe and
Death Knight's got a Biss weapon, Tanker to Terror.
Yeah, they get insane. There's melee class,
crazy.
There's a DOE weapon. There's some stuff that's insane, but yeah, Mage doesn't get anything.
I'll object.
We just save 40 badges at most for the dire,
because you don't stack them.
Yeah, the Halloween one.
You can't stack them.
Yeah, there's the Halloween event soon after that gets you a pretty good ring with hit, and it's like
I'm trying to find that fucking ring, dude. What's the name of it? Do you remember?
I can check very quickly. It's
I was gonna link it to Crix. Yeah.
Dark Iron Pipe is best for role playing on Grob, so I will be keeping it.
Yeah, it's the Horseman's Seal. So it's called the Horseman's Seal. It gives 58 spell power, 36 haste, and 29 hit. So it's a pretty good hit ring. Can get you like, they Criteria posted it in the Discord.
I should have just done a snip of it.
It's better than a lot of the pre-raid options if you need a hit, especially for fire and whatnot. It's nothing insane. Just might as well get it if you're starting up, because the Halloween event is going to be pretty soon as well. It's like, what, 1 month after the release, 2 months?
Yeah.
So, that's the couple of events that are soon that are...
I mean, if that's available, I mean, that's pretty good. Like, you're probably going to be using that.
If you need a hit for her, for sure.
If you need the hit. Yeah.
Just pick it up for Fire Transition, Phase 2. Let's go.
Because the raid rings, there's nothing that good from the raid. It's basically the base one that Gertrude talked about earlier in the getting section, which is what's it called? The ring, Signet of Manifested Pain, and that's the only base one from raid. So the other one is from. So if you don't get that one, you're just sitting with the Emblem of Valor one, which is just buy with badges.
My gold rings.
Yeah, it's a Band of Channeled Magic.
The Kirin Tor,
Yeah, outside of that, you're just hanging out with either Kirin Tor, Band of Kill, and Hill's Ring, so the pre-raid ones. You don't use anything else, really. Just use the Valor one and the pre-raid ones until you get the base one. So if you don't have the base one yet, that's a pretty good ring.
There you have it.
Yeah.
I dig it.
I see Dracus in the chat. He's asking, like, is the tier 3 two-piece base? Why did I hear you guys saying not to tell people? Because we were just like, we were saying if you're in the GDKP to buy tier 3 two-piece, don't tell the people in the GDKP that you're there for
You usually don't want to tell anyone anything.
You don't want to tell anyone. You're just there to make some gold, or to,
Yeah.
you're going to bid on Cashbringer, or something.
Applies to every GDKP. You never want to.
That's every GI.
Because if you tell people you want tier 3, because it is an interesting thing. Like, tier 3, it gives me a 1 minute Evo. You tell that people that, then the other mages find out and bid you up. Just don't.
Well, and everyone knows that it's like, it's going away too. So like, this guy has to get it right now. So let's fleece him dry.
Reminds me of in tier 6, I did a GDKP. I wanted Warlock to get, or somewhere wherever Hate Mantle Shoulders was, those spell pin shoulders, and I rolled on it, and everyone's like, "Why are you bidding on that?" Absolutely nobody was bidding, and I was the stupid one. I go, "Oh, spell pin," and all of a sudden you go, "Oh wait, you need spell pin," and then other people start bidding on it, and I fucking lost them, dog. I was like, "Oh man, here we go."
The council sets, dude.
Keep it
I remember those days.
So imagine that with an item that's going away forever in a couple of weeks.
That's a gray hair moment.
You guys have we're posting this tomorrow morning, so you guys have until tomorrow morning to go get it before it's on YouTube trying to get it. Did you put it in your Wowhead guide, Felipe?
No. I still need it to my ult. Yeah.
Oh god.
I didn't release a video on it either. I feel bad.
Yeah, I still need it on my ult. So, I'll post that after.
Oh, here we go. They'll see it in here.
I'll post it after. The greed is coming.
Nah, but jokes aside, it's too niche to talk about in the guide like that. I feel like
most people that are watching the guide probably aren't gonna do it.
Yeah, it's like do it.
It's very sweaty.
It's very sweaty, and the people that are reading aren't that sweaty, regardless. So
the people who need it already know about it for the most part.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's definitely people out there who are like, "Oh, I could use that," and I'm just haven't been following things or whatever.
Or people considering going hardcore in RAF.
But the thing is, like, those people that like they're thinking like, oh, they want to be prepared and everything. It's like you probably don't need it. Like it'll be all right. But at the same time, it could help for leveling. So
yeah, even in speedruns, like the most sweaty of sweaty players don't know if they'll use it. Just
I don't know if I
break combat twice to be able to get it off. That was scary, huh?
You can invis, but it's too
combat break and your Evo while you have it on. Can you change item gear while you're evocating? No, right?
You could queue it up, but the thing is, like,
screwed.
It's like Yerpol said in chat. It's going to be a situational thing. Like when you know that you're going to probably need another Evo soon or something like that, or you just have the opportunity. That's what I think it's really just going to come down to. So
another thing is, if you're using it, you're not going to always use full evo. Like if you're getting twice the evos every like certain period of time, like if you're using 2 evos every 2 minutes, that's 1 evo. You can just use half of it, and it's still like, if it's more situational to get that amount of mana in that period of time, you're just better off using a 1 minute evo for like 2 ticks even, and then in another minute using it for 2 ticks again, then just waiting and trying to get a full one.
Yeah, could go that as long as you have the opportunity with the combat. I mean, that's pretty quick. So like, yeah, before next combat starts, you could probably get that off.
Yeah, just a couple of ticks. But again, that's super situational, and it's gonna depend on the player and how well they know the pathing and the pace of the raid.
How well the raid knows the pathing.
Yeah.
Most don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Is Nax so easy that Arcane Mages should expect Innervates? It's not that Nax is easy, it's that the more mana they have, the more damage they're going to do. And in a fight where you're talking about progression, in a fight where you have time to sit there and get your mana, like you guys aren't on progression. I mean, some people are, we are, but you're not you're not doing trash right into a boss of progression. You have time to sit and break. Nobody else should really need it, really. I don't know if another cast is going to run out.
The best way to explain it is Arcane Mages are always the best mana dump. You give them mana, they'll pull out damage. Simple as that. Yeah. So you give somebody else an Evo, an Innervate, and they might just not use it. An Arcane Mage is always going to use that mana.
Yep.
No matter
the same school of thought from TBC applies. Generally, if you're giving other people Innervate, it's because of a disaster or because that person's not pressing their buttons, mostly looking at mana pots and dark runes. Healers.
Yeah, exactly. That's just it.
If you run short healers, like if you were progging and you have short healers, or like someone says if you die, but like as a druid, my first thing is someone dies, I'm already B-resing them and I'm already slapping an Innervate on them. I'm going back to my business, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and your healers shouldn't go is I think what he's maybe
if
is
you're running
asking,
short,
as...
if you're running like literally you're cutting down a healer, people are standing there shit being dumb. But I feel like
I can understand like the like 2 to 3 healer speed runs that like where the healers just need to be dumping mana the whole time to just make sure nobody dies, like min-maxing that maybe they get one of the druids Innervates, but there's probably gonna be 3 in the raid, so you should be able to get some regardless. There's never should be enough demand for all the Innervates available, such that if you coordinate with your druids and other people are playing remotely appropriately, that you won't get any. So
rest of druids don't have rest of druids really don't have mana issues that bad. Boomies don't either. That's why Boomies on like we have to sit down and drink. We don't have any problems with mana. So Shadow Priest on problems with mana.
The thing is, if the fights are short for us, they're short for everyone. And if the fights are short, healers aren't going to struggle with mana. Other DPS aren't going to struggle with mana. If the fights are like 90 seconds, which they'll likely be in Axe, they're going to be like 90 to 120 seconds.
Boom can self-innervate. No, the only fight that I would absolutely need to innervate would be like Thaddeus, because it's pretty long.
Kel'Thuzad is pretty long too.
That's without mana. I'm not using any mana talents on my boom either. I was just using straight no mana talents, so I could actually probably take Dream State and some other mana talents and then free up that. You know what I mean?
Saffron can get kind of long if you don't drag the Lothar score buff into it as well.
Also, speed running you can take into it credit even more. Like if you're just holding W the whole time, then obviously that's a different conversation you can with Innervates. But done a typical like, not even average guild, I would say that most people are doing. I don't think unless like someone dies, like Tiggy said, I don't think I could probably see you just feeding them to mages, and nobody else really needs them.
Somebody swap specs.
Yeah, you just don't need them. Like beta isn't representative of reality. Yeah, that's a very thank you, Lear. Yeah.
And another thing is like a lot of the time you assign an Innervate to a healer, you assign an Innervate to other classes, and they just hold it. They save it for an in-case situation, while Arcane just gets it on cooldown and they'll use it. So every 3 minutes, the Arcane's gonna request that Innervate, and they're gonna use the mana from it. They're not gonna waste it. Well, if you give it to a healer, a lot of the time they'll waste like 6 or 7 minutes without requesting one because they don't need it at that specific period of time. So it's just more consistent output from it.
Agreed. Any other questions? Who's speaking? That's Felipe up top right here. Felipe.
Yeah.
Look at his
Wowhead.
Picture is the
right
best.
there.
Yep, Mage.
Yep, Mage.
I tried to make
he
him
had me add that
bro.
to my stream.
Yeah, I tried to get him like a cool like thumbnail, like a cool little mage looking one. He sent me back that one. I was like, oh, fuck me up.
Terrify was such a good time to be alive for me.
I tried to set him up all cool and shit. I was like, yeah, I got you, bro. I got you a nice little one.
Mage.
It's like, no.
I don't think Mage will ever be that good.
Yeah.
That was cheap, man.
We're like gapping everyone. Tier 5, just talking about that. Like, we're never gonna be that good again. Nobody ever will. That's like peak class. No class is ever gonna peak that hard.
I thought.
Can you imagine if they didn't
ICC?
fix?
I thought you guys were kind of banana on that bonkers spread in ICC. Though.
It's not so head and shoulders above everyone else. Like Fury Warrior up there and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Tier 5 is just.
No, it was just we were gapping everyone. Like first place to second place was,
untouchables.
Right. Imagine they didn't fix the GCD too. That would have been crazy.
Warlock Discord, right? Was that you guys?
I'm pretty sure it was them.
What do we do?
Not even joking.
So,
it definitely wasn't the BBB.
Yeah, phase 1 of TBC, we had a. Yeah,
One
they
day,
complained about Mage's topping.
Mage's machine gunning.
Because there's the retail GCD of 0.75 instead of 1 second as a cap. And Warlocks are like, why are we not topping? Mages are not supposed to top.
I don't remember ever saying that or hearing that. Warlocks were not supposed to top tier 4.
I mean, Warlocks are not a monolith.
Who the fuck said that?
Some Warlocks.
Yeah, copiumed out of their
Some
fucking
Warlocks.
mind, Warlocks. Come on now. We know what happened. The real ones knew what the fuck was going to happen.
Fucking fine Warlocks, man.
Hey, don't start a war right now, dog.
I love Warlocks. They're
start a war right
great.
now,
They're great people.
Yeah, hey, be nice.
So so to summarize, Innervates for mages, focus magic to mages, all the gear to mages.
Yeah.
I've
I've said fuck mages a lot, but I've never said mages were bad because they're not. That's why I hate them so much. Oh, I used to hate them because they're fucking. Now I'm just joining them. Fuck it. You can't beat them. Join them.
most mages are dog shit. Let's be real.
Well, most warlocks are dog shit too. To be fair, too. Yeah, you know what I mean. And now it's
My
now
Gilgamesh
I'm
hates
scared. It's gonna be
mages.
even worse.
Like I would say, most of the population of mages just rolls mages to farm gold, because that's the spec to be.
At least warlocks don't have to screech innervate. Yeah, we just life tap until we die from it.
I think my Kogilmaster only hates Resto Druid and Naxxramas more than he does mages. Just screeching about Fairy Fire.
Everyone hates
That was the only thing. The number 2 is just, I hate mages, dude. So that's what I have to deal with. Naturally, I have to talk about how great mages are all the time to combat it.
I think we just need to stick together as all the classes and talk about how good all the classes are. Because that's really what's happening is all of them are good now. Define all, but you get it. We can be nice.
Yeah, casters stay together until turning tide drops, and then we turn on each other.
It's not turning tide, and then you turn the tide.
Yeah. Turning tide, and the tables turn. Yes.
Well,
so
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's important to remember that even though all classes can be in a raid, some are just not gonna be. That might be mages as well, right? Just something to note, because before TBC, a lot of people started saying, "Oh yeah, ally shamans are gonna pump, boomkins are gonna pump, fucking every class was gonna pump," and then like a couple weeks in, people are already cutting boomkins, people are already cutting ally shamans, people are already cutting, So don't expect everything to pump,
Yeah.
I'm hearing some people ask about PI and when we get it.
Go over to ask. Go ahead.
What do you guys think? When do we get PI?
It reduces mana cost for us. That's huge.
Doesn't stack with AP still, right? Or Lust? Or is that still not?
Neither does Strix.
Yeah, so run that action, bro. What you mean? Warlocks, boomies, rise up.
Is there a snapshotting of haste with any Warlock toolkit?
No,
or is it?
Wish.
Yeah, okay.
Just percent and crit. Percent damage and crit, like COE and crit.
So obviously PI once your fire seems pretty squared away depending on damage values. But
I think it's Nax. Who cares? Just go to whoever's paying him the most. Yeah, whoever's the healer, the priest's favorite. They did. For those who didn't know, they normalized in a weird way. They normalized tricks of the trade, so you don't have to worry about stacking up those. Roll-Say would probably be asking for that too. And I'm just kidding.
Everybody's gonna be asking for that. Yeah.
Not anymore. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, but it's not on logs now, so I don't care.
PI is massive for Drain Soul. It's probably massive for Molten Fury too.
It's definitely massive for a lot of people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
huge.
That was another thing, because we have Execute as fire with 35% less HP. Definitely, if you want to min-max damage, prioritize those low HP targets when you're clearing the trash.
People don't mention that enough, as there is a little mini Execute with fire mages.
Pyroblast those trash mobs and save your second set of CDs if you get them on a boss or something like that. Use them for Execute phase. And just be smart about that, and then try and convince people to not use Lust at the beginning and use it during Execute phase.
That's never gonna happen.
It's never gonna fucking happen. But just you could try. Just give it the college try, maybe every now and then. You could
for the greedy mages.
First week.
For the greedy mages, don't take tricks. Give it to your tanks or give it to your warlocks or let your rogues have a circle jerk. Don't take it.
Then ask for
it doesn't
PI.
even. It isn't even going to change your parse. Warcraft logs change that. It's just details parsing that you're doing.
Just bait your warlocks and be like, yo, you know what? You can have tricks. Just let me get PI, and then they'll just assume that, oh yeah, fuck yeah, dude, I'll take tricks over PI. You know, PI haste or execute. PI. I mean, I'm not gonna. Baron wants to hold W. Well, yeah, you're trixing the tank on trash. Yeah, you don't trick the tanks on.
Tricks is getting attributed to an NPC for Enigma in the chat. It's so you can see the value of it, but it goes to nobody's parse.
Mm-hmm. Same with Hysteria or whatever it's called.
Yeah. But PI is a haste, so it can't do that. And so
Focus Magic is.
If you want to parse, you better be getting PI.
Yeah, PI and Focus Magic both are going to be in there.
So
unholy frenzy.
I don't think it's that stupid. It's you're going to have one where you stack Disc Priest. Like if you think of the most Orlando thing you can do as a caster, the most you can do is hard stack Disc Priest. And you're not going to do that, right? You might. I mean, how many Disc Priests are you logically going to bring?
Longer kill times.
It was a big deal on retail, though. I mean,
for some classes.
Yeah, but look how Lich King is different. And that's a bad example because Lich King Disc Priest is not even remotely the same as retail Disc Priest, right?
Hold on, but even now in TBC, the best Fire Mages parts intentionally are very long fights to get long execute phases and just a lot of CD usage. So people buy parts.
7 PIs and 14 Innervates and 17 lust. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that though. That's gone.
Yeah, okay, well, there isn't as much stacking because party buffs like you can't just stack lust and everything like that. But there is still going to be PIs and Innervates.
You can
that's
die.
just not going away.
You can die and get soul stoned and then get innervated
and then get another.
And if you're running two druids,
drop sated, and I don't know what they're gonna do about that.
Frost mages can reset their frost pet and lust again, and they get second lust on their pet as well.
Ooh,
the soulstone res meta into a second lust for rankings is going to be so cancerous. It's going to happen.
I think it's still way better than TBC is, and that's what we have to accept, that it's going to be in the game in Lich King. It's way better than... Yeah, it's way better. What do you mean, is it?
I feel like it's going to be meta for Algalon, actually. I feel like it's going to be meta.
In the fucking Warlock group, they're getting 5 lusts
definitely better.
And 4 Innervates and 2 PIs on Illidan. Get the fuck out of here. What do you mean?
Warlocks get 5 lusts.
No, I'm just saying that was any class. That's not just Warlocks.
He's just talking about
any
stacking. It always happens at the top of every ranking.
I'm tilted
because
I'm tilted over some Warlock shit back in the day because I was... Yeah.
Imagine the second
this right here, bro. Like this little fucking clown ass Ferreros, bro. Look, 4th place with 10 buffs, can't even fucking 9. Look at these bums, dog.
He's buying parcels.
That's Mage parsing in TBC right there.
I know don't even look at the Warlocks one. I know. Trust me, I know. But what I'm saying is this is impossible now. You cannot do this anymore. So it's automatically way better than TBC.
But they could have also just capped the number of buffs, right? Like Warcraft logs could have just said a max of 5 because you hardly
they could have done a lot of shit 5. And they didn't. And I wonder if it's because they're like, whatever, we already launched it, we'll just work on it for Lich King, and they are
4 bloodlust, 4 PI, 2 Innervate.
By the way, check the chat. I just put the worst offense in there. That one, I don't know if there was
so good. That is.
I remember that one from that's a Kael'thas, I believe.
Oh, that's higher than I've seen. 19 and only 6th. Oh, it's all okay. It's all DPS. Okay, what was your first mage?
I believe he was first. That was on
19
Kael'thas, I'm pretty sure. So it was a longer fight, but still,
can't see it. 4 lust, 8 Innervates, and 7. I mean, 8 PIs and 7 Innervates, dog. Yeah. Pathetic. Still,
so they'll still be column and shaving.
With 2 fucking pops.
These same guilds that are selling passes right now, they're gonna do the same shit, and they're just gonna they're gonna make the Fire Mage kill himself, and then just lust him again and again. They're gonna take 5. I don't know, 3 PIs, 5 lusts, right? And they're just gonna intentionally make the kill time slower, and they're just gonna keep killing the mage.
It will at least be a lot harder to do that. Imagine you do that on the shamans and the B-reses and everything. Yeah, I know, but
imagine you do that on Algalon with the raid wipe mechanic, and you just soulstone the entire raid on progression for Algalon. Just intentionally die to it and then bloodlust your entire raid.
Soulstone is going to be a DPS cooldown for other people.
The classic community will find some way to cheese something, bro.
Yeah, always.
They always do.
You're going to soulstone the Fire Mage, going to kill himself, going to res, going to get another lust, and so on. It's just and he's going to pay $500 for that week. That's just
something completely unrelated to mages, but since you brought up Algalon, I was thinking about it. What do you guys think is going to be the race way for Ulduar? Do you think it's going to be a race towards Algalon or a race towards Yogg 0?
I think
because you could just do Yogg 1 and you could go till Algalon, or you could try and be attempting Yogg 0 and then you get Yogg 0 down,
or
and you go for that first, but you lose the race for Algalon. You have to choose.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
I mean,
what gives you a title?
If you go Yogg 1, I feel like it's a cop out. I feel like you gotta go Yogg 0 maybe.
Yogg 0 is Death's Demise.
Why would you give up Death's Demise, bro? My name in my Discord has
I agree with you, man. I'm all about that, dude. I want that Death's Demise title guy. I'm just saying, like, Celestial Defender is the is that the Realm First Algalon one? There's a Realm First Algalon one as well. So you have to choose.
I guess it depends on your server. If you're
Off
like
topic,
nobody's good enough to kill Yogg 0, then just go for the Algalon.
I just want Ulduar to be. Wait, I already want Ulduar to be here. Is that weird?
I know, man.
I think everyone's excited for it. Like it has to be the most storied raid outside of maybe original OG Nex and all of Classic raiding. Talking like first 3 expansions.
Yeah. Yep.
Good raid.
And then I can wait forever until ICC because Heroic Lich King 25 man progression is just going to take it out of me again. I can just tell.
I started raiding in TOGC, so I'm excited for that little circle I'm coming up on when I first actually started raiding back in the day, which is kind of fun. I was a mage,
I'm just hearing
enough.
words, man. I've never heard of it. Like, everything in Classic is brand new to me. I've never played any Classic at all. It's all brand new.
That's actually so nice, though.
Classic's my first time ever raiding.
Awesome.
I got to play WoW before, but I was a kid. Couldn't raid.
I didn't.
Had to go to school.
So yeah, everything's brand new to me, which is kind of fun. But at the same time, I'm listening to this and it's like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Wow, you wow baby.
Yogg 0, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. I just assume everything's gonna be easy as fuck, as it always is.
I camped out for Burning Crusade at a GameStop or some shit. It was lit as fuck.
Hell yeah, high five.
Oh my god.
I wasn't even level 60. I was level 57 on a Paladin. I remember getting it and like the game's downloaded. I'm just like running, trying to get any kind of levels I can get to 58 to go inside of it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Fucking hate Paladins, but yeah. You guys good? Are we good there? Is that a good stopping point? I'm having so much fun. I'm down to keep going, bro. I mean, last one was 4 hours. We're only at 3 hours and 25 minutes, bro. I appreciate you guys coming in, Kat, Felipe, Tiggy. That was a lot of fun, bro.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I know I don't have much clout, so it was nice.
Well, it's not about clout, man. This is not about. I just said it earlier. Like me and Sarthe, we don't sit here, and we're not doing this for our streamer friends. We're not trying to do this for the views, clout. It's just literally just trying to get resource information out there that's not out here. This void was filled in TBC and Classic by other content creators that are no longer doing it. That's why we're here doing it. You know what I mean? So get Tiggy back shirtless for science. Hey, we gotta add Esquire next time too. I wanted to get Esquire. So
how
I
about
need like a big old
bio? Give me Innervates,
gold
baby.
episode or something. Yeah, Innervates for shirts.
Fair trade.
Get Cartier to do that. He's the gym guy.
We're going to probably tomorrow morning we'll post it, Sarthe. You want to? And then we're going to start alternate. Well, we are alternating, but we're going to start doing this since I'm a caster. He's the physical DPS. All the physical DPS we're going to do from his channel, which will be next week. I don't know what we're going to do yet. It kind of makes sense to go like maybe Feral and then Boomy.
Also,
like I might Hunter and then Warlock.
Might have DK lined. I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm talking to some really good people right now. So
Multi-spec classes are kind of easy.
White Wolf is one, and then Progress's DK lead is
the Morbin Time OG White Wolf.
Morbin Time is
Who's
coming
the Progress
on.
one?
You should ask Deuce who writes for Wowhead, right?
Who?
You what?
Deuce writes for Wowhead.
Ooh,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're not Sarthe and I. Sarthe, you don't ever just sign anybody on without talking to me about it first. You and I sit there and talk about it because I'm trying to accomplish something here, and I'm not going in blind without Discord or Wowhead things. And then we can get a random ass guest to come too, which is fine. But we gotta wait that out. We don't just jump the gun on that. I want to make sure we're in the Discord. We have the resources out, the Wowhead and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can do DK next too. I'm down to DK next. It's fine as well. When we do Druid, I want to do Feral and Boomy back to back, and then when we do like Hunter, do Hunter and then Warlock back to back.
Hell yeah.
2 pets.
Those will be super fun.
Yeah, so let's do figure out if you want to do DK. Can I come with the DK one? Yeah, DK, let me know if you want to do it. We'll hit it up, obviously. We'll figure it out in a couple days. We also need to hit more than one a week for a couple weeks.
Yeah,
we need to talk about doing one on Tuesday or
left.
something like that. Yeah, like Tuesday, Friday for a couple weeks. Mage episode part 2 after launch. We'll do a mage catch up. We're gonna do all spec. Probably less on a spec and all class catch up. We're like a month before, maybe like right before phase 2. We talk about phase 1 and then phase 2 prep. Like here's your abyss and shit like that. Tatsu's warrior. We gotta do warrior one coming up. We're letting Zyrene kind of control that one a little bit too. Like who wants on there because he's more of a warrior than me and Sarthe. But yeah, we're definitely putting a lot of time into thinking about this. Obviously, we're not, Sarthe and I aren't talking much because we're not here. We don't know this, right? This is for these guys to talk about. You don't need to hear it from our loud ass voices, right? So we're just gonna keep going at it.
Give better people the forum to answer all the questions. People that know everything for all of these classes. Thank you guys for being here. This was a great episode. Felipe, Krat, Tiggy, you guys were amazing, by the way. That was awesome.
I appreciate being here.
Thank you very much.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. Love you guys. See you guys soon.
Bye.